The Thinking Tackle Podcast.
I know of. I think it was £4 6 ounces when it went in, and it was something unbelievable. Like 6 years later, it was a 40-pounder. A bit of a freak, as I think a lot of big carp are. They're sort of genetic freaks.
What do you reckon happened to it? Do you think it's just a greedy fish that?
Yeah, well, as it turns out, all those 3 fish that he got, they were all in this little pond. They were all stunted. They all looked. If you look at the before and after pictures, you'd never see them. It's like an acorn growing into a mighty oak. You can't imagine it happening. Mm. But there's something special about the water quality. It's constantly being drained down and fresh water pumped in at certain times. And I think that's a big thing for a lot of venues. Lots of venues that consistently produce big fish. I think they often have a change of water. They don't necessarily need to be big. They don't necessarily need to look amazing. But if they've got a change of water, I think that does something for the fish. I don't know. I'm not Simon Scott, but
I'll tell you a story off camera after this.
Okay.
Anyway, Neil Spooner, welcome to the podcast. We're live.
Well, there you go.
After about, what's this, 3 months, Toby? How
It's
long
been
is
a
this?
long time now.
Who knows? I don't think time means anything anymore.
It doesn't, does it?
No, it just blends into one, doesn't it?
God,
Yeah,
it
does,
really
mate.
does. I wouldn't have believed that. I think the last podcast we'd done was the PTSD one with...
Oh, yeah, with the eye...
Yeah,
Yeah, the eye
Carp.
carp, yeah.
Yeah, and who would have thought? We've had to cancel a few podcasts since then.
Yeah,
as well.
Well, everyone said the same. It's a strange old time, isn't it? No one could really see it coming. And now if you like, there's a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. I don't think we're any closer to being back to normal, but at least we've got something. At least we can get the rods out again. And
Well, we're keeping our distance anyway, aren't we?
absolutely, mate. You've got to...
The hair's a little bit longer as well.
Oh, don't. Do you know, I put a little video up on Instagram yesterday, one that I filmed 2 weeks ago in my back garden. And the content was just about how I load my tackle box. I've been asked about it loads, but most people have now said that the main comments are about my hair. I'm like, that's 2 weeks ago. You should see it now.
So I haven't got any left.
Yeah, you've gone.
Toby's gone the other way, actually. Yeah.
Thought it was just time to come off.
Where's the cap gone anyway? Toby's...
It gets a bit hot now, so I'm going to let it air out a bit, mate. I tried tanning it yesterday in the sun because it was a bit too white on the top of me.
It does look a bit tan, doesn't it, actually?
To be fair, I would actually shave all mine off, but I'm not afraid to say my missus is having none of it. She's like, no, it's not happening. She's threatened to sort of trim it for me, but I'm more paranoid. I think now I'm just going to let it grow, just see what happens.
What's the longest your hair's been then?
Now, I don't think I can't remember
Really?
ever being this long.
You got until July then, really?
Yeah, it's another good. Where
It's
are
a
we
few
now?
months
Yeah, it's
before we
another
can get
6
our-
weeks at least.
It is.
Yeah, I'm just going to let it go.
Oh, I don't know. I was close. I was close last week to shaving it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see anyway.
So
I'll wear a
really
hat
like to
normally
see
anyway
you
if I'm out
bald.
fishing. There'll be
What's
some
that?
sort.
I'd really like to see you bald, actually.
I wouldn't go bold, but
No?
I would. No, I
What
would.
would you go, like number 2 all over?
Yeah, number 3.
Number 3, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, decent.
Yeah.
It would be quite funny to see.
When they're a bit-
Like I say, now it's July until
Yeah.
they're opening places. It's like it's too long. But anyway, this part of the show, Neil, we usually ask our.
You do, yes. Well,
We get some comments about this saying that it's not a gift if you ask for it, but
no, well, you've got to force your way. You've got to start the thing.
I think it's a nice icebreaker.
I actually
for
don't.
the
When
start of the show.
I'm sitting
anyway.
here now, and I've listened. I've never watched one of the podcasts, but
Have
I've
you?
listened to every single one. It's one of the things I do when I'm driving, and to see all of these bits here, I didn't know what I was going to add to it. I'll be honest. There was a brief moment where I thought about donating the monkey,
Really?
Oh, that would have
But-
been...
Oh, but I nearly asked you for that.
but
I thought that's too much.
I've had that monkey longer than I've had my children. I started work at Korda in 2007. Literally my second day at work, found out Sarah was pregnant. So she said, you better get some fishing in while you can. And it was on one of them trips that, if you like, the monkey was born. So I couldn't. In the end, I just couldn't. I just thought, no, he's been with me for too long. But something that does have probably more sentimental value, I was away filming. By this stage, I think I would have had 2 or 3 children. I'm not sure exactly when it fell in, but I got the most beautiful picture from my wife. They'd gone on a little holiday with her mum and dad to, I think it was to Great Yarmouth, and like all kids, me still, the 2p machines. Well,
Oh, yeah.
Connor spent his own money.
We don't know what we're getting here,
You
mate.
don't.
Either do
And
we?
it's
So
the next best
is.
thing I can do to the monkey.
Oh wow!
Yes.
My little boy He won me that on his 2p machines with his own money. It was a Christmas version, so it's got a Rudolph top on. It has been fishing because it's been gnawed by a rat there.
That was a rat, was it?
And there's a bit of goo on it, which is standard. But so whilst he doesn't sit on my rods all the time, he still means a lot because my son got me that with his own money from a 2p machine. I got this picture when you're miles away from home. Quite an emotional time when you've got young children. You know, you're not seeing them as much as perhaps you normally would. So there's my gift.
That's does he know that it's
Haven't
ours
told
now?
him, no. He might watch this. And
He's looking for it at home.
Pulling his eyes out when he sees this.
I hope he'll understand, though.
Actually, you're talking about the monkey because we were talking earlier, weren't we, about kettles. I had some kettles engraved a few years ago, and you don't remember this, but you did ask me for a kettle, and you asked me whether I could engrave it with a monkey on.
Yeah.
So where does the monkey thing, the mascot, come from?
Right, it was.
So have you got a picture of the monkey?
Yeah, I have. Good.
I was fishing at the quarry in Essex before it went day ticket. It was still a syndicate. I don't know what it was about the quarry. I never clicked with it. I caught fish, and it's a beautiful lake, but for some reason I didn't really enjoy my time there. I was always looking for a reason to go somewhere else. Oh. But just after I found out Sarah was pregnant, she was actually going away on a hen weekend, so I booked in a 2-nighter. Done a night. I'd not had anything.
There we go. Look, he's up there.
Yeah, that's relatively recent. In fact, that was just before lockdown. I went up to Norton Disney for a couple of nights, so it doesn't look like a monkey anymore. Let's be honest. He's just a blob on the rods, but he's my blob. In fact, the jumper he's wearing is a Christmas jumper.
He wears a jumper. Does he? So does he change clothes?
No, not anymore. The hat and the scarf. I was doing an open day in Bury St Edmunds at Tackle Up, and I think their mum knitted it for me, so that's lived on him now. So yeah, I was at the quarry. I ran out of tea bags. Cardinal sin, hadn't checked. So I'd done the night, nothing, ran out of tea bags. So I wound in. There's a shop nearby. I've driven down to the shop. And I'm a salesman. That's what my job has been for a long time. And as a salesman, you can never turn down a deal. So I've got into there. PG Tips. As obviously he was a PG Tips monkey. You could buy a box of tea bags for £4, say. Or you could buy a box of tea bags with a monkey for the same price. I didn't have any need for a monkey, but I'm like, if I get it for free, I'm having it. So I've bought this box. I've got back to the lake. I've literally didn't put any more bait out. I've flicked 2 rods back out onto their spots. Put the bobbins on, sat down. I've put the kettle on. I've unwrapped the tea bags, and I've lifted this monkey out and just looked at it. And the swim I was in, I couldn't tell you the name of it now, but you're on a slight slope. You're bivvied up, a little slope down to the rods. And I've dropped this monkey on the floor, and I think I knocked it, and it just rolled down and landed next to the rods. So I've put the tea bag in. I think the kettle had just about boiled, and I've had a take. I'm like, wow, definitely a carp, ripping line off. So I've gone down, I'm playing it in, coming in all lovely. And I've just, when you sort of walking backwards, you checking where you're going. Well, I'm walking backwards, and as I look down, there's this monkey just looking up at me from the back of the rods. I'm like, you've done this.
Yes.
And from that day, he's travelled the world. He's sat on the back of the rods, whatever setup it's been.
Every single session. How would you feel if he wasn't with you then?
Exactly. Well, this is the thing I was forced with. It's become the same as putting a hair stop on your boilie. Yeah. You've got my 3 rods out. The 3 bobbins are on. Monkey sits there, tap his head twice, away we go. If that wasn't an option... I don't know. It's going to come. He's a rotting mess. I'm not going to lie and ham it up. He's not in a good way.
But I mean, if you pitched up next to anybody else at the mat and they walked in and they didn't know that you were fishing and they looked at the rods, they would know exactly who's fishing.
They would. He got stolen once by I was fishing a lake in Essex called Chigborough, and I was just sat there, and all of a sudden this dog has come bounding into the swim. There's bait everywhere because I've not been set up very long, and he's coming. He's ignored all the bait, grabbed the monkey off the rods and run into the field. So I'm now chasing it. I can hear the owner of the dog calling the dog's name. I'm running around. She's come round the corner and she's like, why are you chasing my dog? He's got my monkey. If anyone hears that conversation now,
Yeah.
Thankfully I got it back close.
Yeah, you need to see that and put that into context a little bit, don't you? But thanks for the gift anyway.
No problem.
That's lovely. That's great. We got Danny's lucky stick as well. So
not lucky anymore. He doesn't believe in it anymore.
Is that why he gave it to us?
I listened to the podcast. He's a very much a positive mental attitude. He doesn't need something to be lucky.
Yeah. Okay.
So he's just giving us a stick then?
He's just giving you a stick.
Well, he didn't mention that, did he? He didn't mention that when he gave us the stick. We just...
There's some such cool gifts there. I mean, you know, Jan's tackle box, the books.
Jan's tackle box is
drumsticks.
But scared to... Yeah, they're all personal.
Yes, right.
Everyone, they give it some thought, and you can look at every single one there, every single gift, and there's a story. There's a story with all of them. Lee Jackson's brilliant. You know, all that.
Oh, brilliant! I remember listening to that. Yeah, the bit at the end, you're like, no, a bit emotional, but incredible.
I'll tell you what we haven't got. We haven't got the embryo calendar that we need to get you to sign.
Oh yeah.
So
we'll
pull that out actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's great. I don't know what we're going to do with all this stuff.
Immortalise it somehow.
It's
got
got to be a
display cabinet of some sort.
We will have to do that
maybe
eventually,
all along
won't
the
we?
wall or something.
Yeah,
it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, well, you look at Rogan, don't you? And you look at his. Do you watch?
I don't know.
Well, he's got stuff all over the table, and it's like, well, you don't want to. You just want everything to appear naturally, don't you? And that's what's happened.
Good.
So, coronavirus. We might as well mention it, haven't we?
Yeah.
I mean, it's been dominating the world for the last.
Absolutely, and rightly so, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been strange, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, did you think? For someone like you that does a lot of fishing as well, I mean, what were your? I mean, you didn't know we were going to go into lockdown for 2 months plus.
No,
but,
not
I mean,
at all.
initially, what did you think? We're going to be back quickly, or?
Well, when it first happened, we were out filming Monster Carp at Crete Lakes in France, and it was all getting really serious. As it turns out, we were in an area of France that had already been hit quite strongly, unbeknown to us, and we had to make the call to come home early. Obviously the right thing, but
did you think it was an overreaction at the time, or did you?
I don't really have a view on it. I go.
You
carp
go with
fishing.
the flow, don't you?
I go carp fishing.
Yeah.
It's not nothing I say is going to change what's happened or what could have happened.
Right.
There's people in authority that are making very difficult decisions. So if they think it's right, they think it's right. But sort of driving home, we sort of came back into the office briefly, but said, well, actually, you can't. You know, going by the government rules, you can't be here. So me, Ali and Tom and anyone that had been working on the project were told to go and work from the bank for a few days. That picture of the monkey, I was up at Norton Disney for 3 days with Rob Burgess, came up for a night in the swim next door, not next to each other. And then I think it was that weekend, the Sunday, it was the 23rd, I think we were put into lockdown. And I'll be honest, selfishly, I'd had such a grueling winter on my target water fishing for a carp that gets caught over a minimal amount of bait. So that's how I've been fishing, and I'd not had a bite since November the 5th. I think it was 17 nights I did up until the end of February without a bite. The whole time though I was thinking, spring's coming, he's going to come out. So the first thing I thought, March 23rd, how long are we going to be in lockdown for? A month? First week of May, still mine, I've got a chance. And the first 2 weeks of lockdown I probably found the hardest, because it's not very often I go more than a week without at least doing an overnighter. And all of a sudden to not be allowed out of the house other than to go shopping was quite difficult. But as we've briefly touched on, I always look for the positives. I'm not one to dwell on anything. You know, what's happened. And I thought, I'm getting to spend a lot of time with my children that I wouldn't often get, because, you know, whether it's Monster Carp or Thinking Tackle, whatever it might be, I probably spend around about a third of the year away from my family. And all of a sudden I've got 2 months, as it turns out, spending extra time with them. And it was great, if I'm honest. I know that the reason we're there is horrible, but the outcome from me personally was lovely to spend some extra time with the family. Yeah.
And I guess you have to, because then everybody has to be quite creative about what they're going to do with the work. Because we're in the media here as well, aren't we? So we can't just stop the wheels from turning, can we?
No, that's right.
So are you immediately thinking then, well, how can I fill this gap personally for?
Well, I knew that because my job is sales predominantly. I'm head of sales for Korda. Shops weren't open, so that side of it we couldn't really do too much. It was a bit going initially with the onliners that was still going, but we weren't doing anything as a company right at the very beginning. We were completely shut down, but we were still doing bits at home. We had we've got an Osmo, like a little stand to put your phone on. We could film some bits, send that to John Wilkes, who would then make it into something to go out. So we were still keeping busy, but never as busy as if you're in the office full time. I was more busy, I think, trying to relearn algebra with my eldest.
Relearn algebra, you said that.
Yeah, well,
how's it going then?
I'm probably better at algebra now than I ever was at school, but I can still remember saying at school, I can't see why I'm ever going to need algebra, and I was kind of right, because it's took this to homeschool my children to need it again. But yeah, he's probably got a better understanding of it.
So do you assume, like, when we get older, that we might get a little bit more intelligent and hopefully we can learn algebra or something like that a little bit more easier? Or do you think it goes the other way?
I can't just look at it and work it out, but I'll look for a tutorial video, a bit like an angler looking how to tie a hair rig. I'll find Connor's questions. If he's not sure, he's quite switched on with his maths, but I would need to look at a video to work out how to. And if I can get an understanding quite quickly, and we can work through his problems. But we're not teachers. There's lots of parents up and down the country trying to do it, and probably a lot, and us. You beat yourselves up if they get a little bit late with a bit of work. But we're not teachers. We're parents that are trying to make the best of a very bad situation.
What about your kids then? Are they enjoying this isolation? Do they understand what's going on and stuff? I suppose.
I think my eldest, because it was his first year at secondary school, he's missed a teacher's presence. So when you're at school and you've got a problem, you put your hand up, you ask the teacher, and they'll tell you how to do it or work you through it. Whereas he's asking us, we're then having to find out before going back to him. And he found it quite stressful early on. The younger two, not so much, because they're sort of 7 and 8. Well, we've had a couple of lockdown birthdays, mine included, and my youngest. So, they've not been quite as grand.
Did you enjoy your lockdown birthday?
I did. My wife, bless her, it was only start of last week. I'm a bit geeky, but I love Lego. I love Star Wars. So she's got me a Star Wars Lego, which I'm probably going to build this weekend. It's Dio from the new films, if anyone likes it. But she also, unbeknownst to me, there was a knock at the door, and I opened the door. So there's a parcel there with someone 2 meters away, making sure you've got it. Yeah. And she'd organised this little afternoon tea and a bit of food for all of us. So, nice fresh scones and nice salads and fresh tea bags. It was really, really nice. But you just make the best of a bad situation.
I think it's brought people together. It's a strange time, but do you do the clapping on the Thursday nights?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It kind of does make you feel very patriotic and stuff, doesn't it?
It does.
It's so strong, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you know, one of the nicest things that's happened, I would have to say, we've lived in our house. We're in a little court of 12 people, and it just shows how busy and how caught up you get with everyday life. We've got 11 sets of neighbours, and we say hello to everybody, but I wouldn't say we knew everybody. We certainly didn't know everybody. We got to know a few better than others, but we got a nice little piece of paper put through the door one day, and it was from number 3 and number 5, and they said, it's VE Day on Friday. What does everyone think about just going to the end of your drive with a little table, a few drinks, to set and a cake, celebrate VE Day? We're like, that sounds lovely. So at 4 o'clock, everyone's out there, and they'd put a cup of tea. So we were getting ready to go there with fresh juice for the kids and tea. But as I put the table down, I noticed that one of the other dads had a bottle of beer. I thought, oh, okay.
It's going to be like this, is it?
So we had a social distancing VE Day party that was supposed to last for probably an hour, and I think we went indoors at about 10 o'clock in the end.
Did you?
But it was lovely.
Yeah.
And we got to speak to our neighbours who we've spent no time with, and now I feel like we've got more friends around us. It was really nice.
It's giving people time to think about other people. People's lives generally are so busy, aren't they?
That's right.
Even if you say hi to your next door neighbour, people they're so preoccupied with. It doesn't matter now whether you're a billionaire or who you are. You could ring somebody up.
Yep.
And say, well, maybe a month or so ago, and they would be doing exactly the same thing as what you're doing. It's
absolutely
just so
a good leveler, unique. I suppose.
It's total leveler, isn't it? Yeah. I found that as well. What about the fishing stuff? So you said that you were you had plans to fish somewhere. So I noticed you were putting some stuff out on Instagram as well. You were doing Instagram live.
That's right. Yeah. We wanted to. It was Ali's call. Rather than we've all do Facebook lives and Instagram lives where you're speaking to anywhere between, I'd say, 200 and 400 people on my own platform. Bigger if you were doing it through Korda. But it was always nice to get loads of questions. I'd often do a lot when I was in the bivvy. I liked to do it when I was in a fishing situation with the rods out, just in case you got a bite for the added excitement. Yeah. But Ali came up with the idea of actually doing one-to-one calls. So you get people to send you a little message on what they want to talk about, and you literally do a video call to one person. So they've got your undivided for... I think the shortest one I did was probably 5 minutes, but one guy we were talking for 45 minutes. And I did that for probably 2 weeks, I reckon. And you can't speak to as many people, obviously, as if you're doing a live to everyone. But you felt that when you were talking to these guys, that they were appreciative of what we were doing. But for us, I was sitting in my garden in lovely weather talking about fishing. And I guess it kind of got me through the first couple of weeks.
Yeah.
The whole time I'm thinking, I'm still going to be back for the spring. I'm still going to get my go at catching him. But the longer lockdown went on, I'll be honest, the less I was then thinking about fishing. It became more, fishing ain't everything. As much as I love it and it's my job, there's a lot more... there's people that have got it a lot worse off, and if all you've got to worry about is when you can get the rods out, you're very, very lucky.
How quickly do you reckon you'll readapt back to forgetting how we feel at the moment? Very quickly.
Because I think that's human nature. We all say we're going to, once we're going to do this, that, and the other, and we will for a little while, but you soon slip into routine, I guess. Just from getting the kids up for school in the morning. We're not doing that at the minute. As long as they're getting their schoolwork done, they don't need to get up early. But, it will be what it will be, won't it?
I was on the phone to Damo the other day, actually. We were talking about, he said, I don't know, he gave us some books to read for the podcast for some guests that are coming on. And I said, yeah, since the holiday period, I haven't had a chance to read him. He went, holiday period?
Yeah.
No, I didn't mean that. But I did see you were doing the rap competition as well, weren't you?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. What was your time in the end?
I only did it once.
Yeah.
I didn't.
I thought you'd try and do it really, really fast.
No, I thought, you know what? I could spend a lot of time trying to get a really quick time.
You're too honest, aren't you?
But I did it once. I think it was 42 seconds for 100 yards. So I know I can beat that, but it's still pretty solid that for a one-go attempt. The winner, who we've kind of not announced yet for a good reason, all be revealed, a guy called Courtney. I think he did it in 31.2 seconds, which is incredible. When you watch the video, you think that cannot be beaten. It was ridiculous.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'd be like 3 minutes. I'd get half.
Tangled.
How many reps was that? Oh no, I need to start again, because that happens all the time. I like that. See, that sort of stuff is really good. And that was your idea?
No, to be fair, we've done it before. When Korda first did distance sticks, I remember going down to compare a competition between Elliot and Daryl down at Priory Park in Southend. I think it was them, and Jack was there filming it. And it was just like, do you know what? It's something we can do at home. It's just something that there's lots of people in lockdown unable to do anything. And I guess everyone has spent a lot more time on their phones than perhaps they would normally. So if we could just keep putting out fun, fresh content, it just gives people something to do.
Yeah,
unfortunately, there's always complaints, whatever we do. And we got complaints from people saying, well, how can I enter? We live in a flat. I just want to say, well, I'm sorry.
We do our best, honestly.
We can't cater for everyone.
Yeah, you'd have to find a creative way of doing that.
You would.
Yeah. But so did you have filming plans during this period? So your creek lakes?
I don't think we actually did. Not off the top of my... There would have been stuff that comes up because there's always new products that are coming out that we then go out and do something naturally. But no, I don't think we had anything actually booked in the calendar for this early. I know I've got some bits in June, which may still go ahead. I've certainly got something in July, but that's going abroad again, so we've got to wait to see if that will happen. But no, for the actual lockdown period, I think I was relatively clear. I was clear for spring fishing.
It's perfect. Yeah, just to rub it in.
Yeah.
Next time, that fish will turn.
Exactly.
We'll talk about that later in the show, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is. It's just, it is what it is, isn't it? I suppose.
Right,
and you
mate.
just have to, But you did film. You've been filming this week.
Yeah. Well, literally, once we got the green light, I think due to the tenacity of Mr. Hamidi, he's always thinking. He's always got something in the pipeline. And we managed to. He had it all. Everything was in line. If Boris gave us good news, we knew we could go. There was then that slight grey area with the camping and night fishing, but that got ironed out with the Angling Trust.
That got ironed out quickly.
It did, yeah, absolutely. Done a fantastic job. So yeah, we've done a Monster Carp UK,
which is awesome because you were fishing. Can you talk about the venue?
Yeah. We were fishing on the Wazen Estate near Basingstoke in Reading. I'd never been there before. Ali's fished it a little bit. Dovey had never seen it before. And when you rock up to a lake like we did, I didn't actually go on the day the other boys went. They went on my birthday, and I said to them, I'm going to stay at home. I'll come early tomorrow morning. We weren't filming until the 13th of May. They wanted to get there the night before to have a look around, see if you see any fish. So the usual stuff you do if you're going fishing. But I just went up really early so I could have the day with the family. And you're greeted to just a beautiful lake, you know, almost in the middle of, I wouldn't quite say it's a forest, but there's massive trees.
So you're on
Cranwell's, yes.
Which was previous...
Home of, is it still the current British official record, isn't
Dean
it?
Fletcher, isn't it?
Yeah,
Dean Fletcher, yeah.
68-1, I think.
What an awesome fish that was.
Oh, it was incredible, wasn't it?
We need to get someone on that can talk about that fish.
Get Dean on.
Be nice, actually.
Yeah, record
We've got
holder.
Pete Regan coming on next week. That'd be fun,
Well, you won't have to say a lot, will you?
It's going to be an easy show. I don't know how that's going to go, actually.
It'll be brilliant. I mean, I guess there's a lot of people that won't know Pete Regan, but
he will do after
this. Oh,
yes.
Yeah. He came down to see us last week, and he's such a big character. Massive. Got a joke for everything, a saying for everything. I met him a lot of years ago, fishing my first ever syndicate venue. In fact, I'll tell you a little story about the first time I met Pete. He was always friends with Damien. Damien worked in Snags at the time, a tackle shop, then I worked in Wass's at the other side of Colchester, if you like. I was fishing, I'd said hello to Pete, never met him before, gone round. Next day he was packing up, I was staying on for a night. And he rung me in the morning. We changed numbers when I'd met him, just in case we got one in the night, we could ring each other. And he rung me up in the morning, he said, "You work in a tackle shop, don't you?" I went, "Yeah." He went, "Come round here." So I've nipped round to see him.
And he would have said it just like that.
Oh, yeah. So I've gone round. I went, "What's the matter?" And he's basically it was one of the first tracker armadillo bivvies. He said, "How do I take that down?" I went, "We don't sell tracker stuff." He went, "You work in a tackle shop?" I said, "Yeah, but we don't sell tracker." I said, "How did you put it up?" He goes, "Well, it's like these poles go together and you put this tension strap on and it all tightens up." I said, "I've undone the tension strap." He said, "I can't get the poles undone." So I've literally picked these two poles, I've gone like that and they've come apart. I went, "What, like that?" Within seconds, he had his hands around my windpipe. So I couldn't breathe. He's put me on the back. And all he said was, "You could have at least made it look different." And that was one of my first introductions to Pete. Absolutely brilliant.
Pete, and he is, and I mean, he's an intelligent man as well. I mean, he's come up with some
bait
boats and stuff like that.
One thing to ask him happened on Jaywick. Pete's been fishing for goodness knows how long. He'd caught loads and loads of big carp. We were on there. I think I got my ticket in 2001. I think he did as well. And up until that point, he had never caught a 30-pound common. And I've gone to see him one morning. He said, he goes, and he told me this story. He said, "I've never had a 30-pound common. And do you know what?" He said, "I had 2 last night." I said, "Did you really?" I said, when we talked about which fish they were. He said, "Yeah, I got the pictures. I can't wait to get them developed." I've gone back round. I've got set up. And he rung me up. He said, "Yeah." He goes, "You know them fish I photographed?" He goes, "Didn't have any film in me camera." So make sure if you can bring that up, that'd be nice.
Yeah, because we need to. Is it possible to put Pete on the back foot though? It's like what you said.
No, he'll have an answer. He was just how I knew I was going to catch him again or something. You know, he's that confident.
I remember a guy on Save actually. Was it? I better not mention his name just in case it's the wrong guy.
Yep.
But he hadn't caught a 30-pound common, or hadn't caught. His PB common was low 30s or something, and he's been going on about he hadn't caught a 30-pound common for ages. And one night he catches this 30-pound common. Everyone comes round, does all the pictures and stuff. And the guy fishing next to him goes round the next morning and said, well done, so-and-so on the 30-pound common. And he went, 30-pound common? And he went, yeah. And he said, the guy completely forgot he even caught it. He had a complete memory loss. Didn't even remember it. Yeah.
No way.
So all that big build up, and they were all trying to convince him that he caught it.
Perhaps he caught loads of them. Then he just forgot them.
They had to show him a picture to show proof that he caught it.
No way.
Yeah. People are getting too old on there, aren't they?
That's what it is. Yeah. Lovely syndicate.
So anyway, so Cranwell. So
yeah.
So exciting place to fish then.
Incredible, just to sit there and think, I'm fishing the venue. All right, I know that fish is not in there anymore and hasn't been for a few years, but lots of well-known anglers have sat there fishing for that fish. Obviously, you know, Herney, Fletcher, all those that have caught it. But to sit in such beautiful surroundings, I don't think I've ever woken up at a lake that's so noisy with bird life. I even took a video while I was there. Not me to Toby away. There's a woodpecker pecking away in the morning. I've actually got a film of him doing it, and I can't remember ever being in a lake that's so noisy just through bird. So noisy, in fact, you'd see a fish show, clatter out of the water. You couldn't hear it.
Really?
It's incredible, but amazing. Really was.
I think Pete was on about male woodpeckers or something.
He'll go on about all sorts.
Yeah,
he was going on about male
Yeah.
cuckoos and female cuckoos. He didn't stop.
Did glaze over a little bit at that point, but so the fishing, the filming, and everything was. I mean, I think it's great that you're doing one in this country actually, and especially to be able to fish a premier venue.
Absolutely,
like that as
yeah.
well.
We're very lucky, and big thanks to Mark. He's like the Wazing gamekeeper. He runs it all for getting it sorted for us, and we're not going to beat about the bush. We probably did. We were really worried we put a few noses out of joint because they've got people that are desperate to go fishing as well. But we met a lot of not all of the syndicate, I don't know how many there are, but I met a lot of people through that week that were just happy to have us there, and it was really, really nice. They weren't bitter at all. They'd go fishing again soon. I've had lots of messages on Instagram and Facebook since saying, how did you like it? I'm on there. On my trip back is next week. The quality of the fish, we were all blown away with. Just like mouths were perfect. We're talking some, decent carp as well. Unique scale patterns.
What numbers of carp are in Cranwells? Do you know at the moment?
I don't know. I still don't know. Mark said there's 170 fish-ish, but I don't know if that's across Cranwells and Oxleys because obviously they're connected by two small channels. So I don't know if they think there was 170 in Cranwells and more in Oxleys, or 170 split across the two. But
sorry, the fish can't move. They can't move between.
Yeah.
They can.
Yeah, it floods and there's two channels. Lots of the fish have been caught from both lakes.
Can they access both lakes all times of the year, or
even when this little channel is quite shallow.
Well, you know what carp are
fish,
like.
Yeah,
they get through.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the one fish that didn't really was the parrot. They only ever saw it once in Oxleys, apparently.
Too big, wasn't it?
But yeah, probably. They saw it once in Oxleys once, but it still never got caught from there. It always got caught from Cranwells.
Wow.
But yeah, they can
and
get into both.
I mean, there's some very big fish on that complex, but the look of the fish as well. I mean, there's they are the scale patterns of those fish are absolutely
insane.
Gorgeous. They are, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and we had a great trip. We certainly didn't have it all our own way. It wasn't we weren't turning up there expecting to catch lots. But I think Dovey put a post out yesterday with I can't remember what the actual picture was, but it said at the end, we've done a Monster Carp UK, and we think we've done the carp fishing scene in the UK proud with what we've produced. We're really happy. I'm not going to go into loads of detail because I think it's going to be a really special episode. I'm going to even put my neck on the line, and so I think it will rival Cassian.
Ooh.
Just with some of the fish that were caught, but the surroundings, the atmosphere of the place, I think it will appeal to a lot of people because it's in this country.
Was it always an intention to do one in this country?
Maybe in the end, but this one has been shoehorned in because of having to come home early from Crete. So we've gone to that. Again, this is down to Ali. This probably wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Ali. He saw an opportunity, as he does, and being as tenacious as he is, he went for it and he got it sorted.
Does he ever go to sleep?
I don't know.
He's, by the way, because everybody keeps going on, right, this podcast, when's Spooner coming on? When everyone's so impatient, aren't they? It's like, just, and if we put too many people on at the same time, too many Korda people, it's like, they're putting too many Korda people on. You can't win, and we've got like a real, but yeah, Ali's coming on soon.
Brilliant.
Anyway. Very,
It'll be
very
such
soon.
a good watch, that will. Like I said, I've not watched any, but I know what Ali's like. I might actually watch that one rather than just listen.
I feel like I might be scrutinised a little bit by...
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know why. Why do you reckon that is, Tobe? Do you
just
get
love
that feeling as well?
I love how Spooner was just straight. Yep. Yeah, probably.
I've listened to enough of these, Tobe. I can see the general trend.
But no, I mean, it was tenacious, and to be able to...
The result that we caught, the carp that we caught, the result we had and the carp we caught, it is going to make for a very special show.
How much preparation time did you get before you filmed that?
We came into the office one day the week before to go through the kit. And do you know what? Regardless of the size of carp you're fishing for, a lot comes down to the time of year you're fishing for them. So the great thing is, when you're going to a lake for spring fishing, you're never really going to need a lot of bait, or I don't think you will.
Right.
You're trying to... We weren't going there expecting to smash them up. We were going there to try and nick some spring bites. So I had me zig foam glugging in goo. I had a few kilo of cell. I had a little bit of worm with me, but I was concerned about the amount of tench that we'd been told that were in there. But other than that, it was you do a lot of bait boat fishing on there, so I didn't have to worry too much about finding down my line to cast to the islands. I'd only re-spooled recently for the Crete trip, so my line was still fine. 15-pound touchdown. I thought, well, that's going to do everything I need it to do anyway. So I had enough time if I'd have had to do a lot of preparation. But as it happens, other than loading the van to take extra kit for some of the crew, because obviously normally on a Monster Carp shoot, you've got you'll have a night cameraman and your day cameraman, and the day cameraman often goes to a hotel for the night. Well, that's not an option, so they've all had to bivvy up as well, and some of them for the first time.
Yeah, right.
So, but everyone just got on with it. We had a brilliant time. The only bit that did feel weird is there was some nice fish caught, and when it happens, we're all together. We just couldn't do that. There's people are saying well done from over there, and that all felt a bit strange, but rightly so. We had to do it the right way.
Were there any buckets of water thrown over you?
No, there wasn't. I think I'd have seen it coming. I'd have had time of that distance. I could have got out of the way, I reckon.
Actually, talking about spring fishing, I mean, it's interesting because, lakes like commercial fisheries like linear and stuff like that, where there's a big biomass of fish, and you think that they're going to be relying on bait at all times of the year. It'd be interesting to see. I don't think linear's opened yet, has it? No, it has opened.
Yeah, it has opened. Only recently.
Yeah, and just to see some weights of these fish.
Yeah, I agree. That'd be very interesting. But the problem you've got with, some of the linear lakes you'll be fine because you've got very obvious fish. But I don't think a lot of people that go to linear would necessarily, they might catch a 30-pounder. You're absolutely made up with it, but you wouldn't necessarily try to find out how big it normally is, if you know what I mean.
But we tend to associate this time of year not necessarily with a lot of bait anyway.
Absolutely.
So it's not like autumn time or whatever where you tend to traditionally see more bait in the lake. So but yeah, obviously on fisheries like that where they do there's so many fish in there,
so many big fish as well.
Who was it? Tom Maker?
Probably. Don't know what you're going to say, but probably.
Well, I saw on Instagram with was it a 50-pounder?
That's not from linear though.
No,
I think he had 4 bites.
That's during this period though, wasn't it?
Yeah. 4 bites. I think 3 40s and a 50.
He's going to have to come on this podcast. He needs to tell us how he's going to catch all these fish. He's a machine.
I've obviously known Tom pretty much since I've been at Korda. He's always been around, got to know him more. And it's one of them, whilst you don't see each other very often, you're always commenting on each other's Facebook posts, Instagram posts. That the man is just he is a carp fishing terminator. He catches a lot of fish. What is it? Can you define what it is? That me and Tom went up. This was a couple of years ago. We went up to Brasenose 2 to do a little feature in February. So it was cold. We both caught a couple. Tom was fishing around on the point, and there was this massive crosswind. He was fishing at 120 yards. Dovey went to see him while I looked after the rods. I don't know if he'd either had a bite or he was playing one when Dovey got there. It was his middle rod. And Dovey said his lines on the outside 2 rods were, really close together. And it's his middle rod that's gone. And he's just landed the fish, unhooked it. Might have changed the rig. Don't really know the ins and outs. One cast, 120 yards, bang in the middle at that range, and proceeded to put 6 bombs right on that same spot. And I think that is a massive, massive thing in carp fishing that I wouldn't say it gets overlooked, but there's a difference between thinking you're accurate and being accurate.
So and accuracy.
The more accurate you are with your baiting to where your rigs are, I think the more fish you catch. And that tramming up fishing, which I enjoy doing. I love it. Yeah, I love that type of fishing. Do you do a lot of that? Because I see some of your video. You tend to do a little bit of everything by the looks. Yeah, I don't like certainly not shoehorned into always doing one method. No. But on certain venues, if I go to Burners, if I go to Brasenose, a lot of the trips we go to these big venues like in Croatia, Slovenia. That's all tramlining fishing, and I absolutely love it. When you're only really thinking about one spot, it actually becomes quite easy. But more recently, like when I've been fishing for the winter, I've kind of been fishing all over, loads of different spots, because I don't feel like one spot, in the winter especially, I don't feel like I'm going to get 3 bites off of a spot. I think I'm going to nick one wherever it might be from. So rather than just concentrating on one zone, I've tried to split my rods up a bit to try and keep the bites coming. As I said, 17 nights without a bite, that's worked a treat. Great plan.
Well, you can only try now. I mean, I know you catch a lot of fish anyway, don't you? I know Ian Ting Tom was saying actually that on the venue where he's fishing, that when he's tried to do that, you just can't get a bite tramming rods up.
Yeah.
You know, they seem to react, differently to that. So I've been probably a little bit blinded by tramming rods up over the last few years. I mean, it's a convenient way of fishing, and if you can fish it long range and fish it, if you're a spot angler, you know, it's but even so, there's a lot of people fishing on those complexes of lakes with, like, with Tom Maker and that group of anglers fishing there. But those guys just seem to always...
They're special. I mean, Tom knows those venues like the back of his hand. He probably knows if he gets a certain swim where the spot is in that swim. But that's just because he's done it so much. It comes from experience. It's just, he could give any angler almost all of his information on every swim, and they wouldn't catch as many as Tom does. He's a machine. Simple as that.
Yeah, no, I'd like to see him fishing. Yeah.
And it's sorry, I don't just want to pigeonhole him into only linear. He seems to wherever he goes as well.
Everywhere. Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
It's certainly not just on linear.
Yeah, no, it's impressive.
Yeah,
it's impressive stuff. So what are you planning on? What are you planning on doing now? Then now you can get out fishing again.
I'm just going to be a little bit more laid back with it this year. Take whatever comes. I said to I did an Instagram live with Angling Direct, and they asked a similar question: what are your plans going to be? And at the time it was going to be, if they've not spawned on Northwick, that's where I'll be going straight away. That's now out the window, because as soon as they were allowed to fish in, the day after that they spawned in Northwick, so that kind of puts James's on the back burner until at least the autumn, I would imagine. And I said, you know what, there's, again, going back to, you're always caught up, you're always busy, you're always doing something, you get lots of messages from your mates, when can we try and fit this social in? And there's always something that comes up in the way. So I think I'm going to try and do a few more of them, try and just get out fishing with some mates. Distancing, it won't be like it was, it won't all be hugging and sitting around a barbecue or anything, but just trying to make a bit of time and just enjoy it. Wherever we go, not put a target in my head, just see what comes along.
So it's just calmed everything down a little bit.
I think it has, yeah.
Just chilled out a little bit with
definitely.
everything. Yeah, just take it as it comes.
Yeah, that's right. I'll still be fishing.
Yeah.
That's, I don't have to be fishing for a specific fish, but I do have to be fishing.
Yeah.
As long as I've got the rods out somewhere, whether it's fishing for 5-pounders with me kids, whether it's fishing for James's at 45-pound or whatever it might be, whether it's a monster carp, whether it's a thinking tackle, whether it's a little feature, if I've got rods in the water, I've normally got a smile on my face.
Yeah. So getting back to you personally, and so where did, before Korda, so what were you working in the car industry?
Yeah, so I worked in a tackle shop. I left school, didn't go into further education, just got a job in Colchester in a hardware store, and used to buy my fishing bits then. I wasn't a carp angler then, I was just a general angler, just like to go fishing. And I saw a job advertised in Wass's fishing, or W.E. Wass as it was called then. They sold bikes, toys and fishing tackle. Saw the job advertised, went in and applied, and got the job. So I ended up working there for 6 years, became the manager quite quickly, because the manager above me, I think he went to Australia. I think that was joined the police force first before emigrating to Australia. But that meant that I became the manager, and I was spending a lot of time. I got into carp fishing through, the first time I went to fish for carp by design was with my mate Chris Southernwood. He was good mates with Andy, who was at the shop before me, and he kept laughing at me for buying pole floats and little hooks and pints of maggots here and there. He said, come and have a day's carp fishing. So working in the shop, I bought myself a carp rod. It was a 12-foot 2 1/4 Pro Carp S.
Always remember.
And I had a Regal X 4550 bite and run reel. And I had a Fox Mini Micro on my first bite alarm. And my bobbin, someone had made me. Do you remember South Park?
Yeah.
It was basically Kenny with a little line clip out of his head and a chain out the other end. Sat on me rods. Far too heavy when you look back at it. So I've cast this out, a little stringer. And I said, now what? He said, you wait. I said, and what? He goes, when it beeps, you've got a fish on. I was like, oh, right, brilliant. Sat there, beep. We've got a fish on. He went, no, it's got to beep continually. All right. I reckon I wound him up, because I reckon for 2 hours, every beep, every 5 minutes, is that a fish? No. I'm like, oh. All of a sudden, this rod has gone into absolute meltdown. And, I was all over the place. Played this fishing, 15 pounds, 6 ounces it was. I'd caught carp up to about 6 pound pole fishing, but this was my first carp by design. And I suppose, pardon the pun, I was absolutely hooked. I honestly, after that, I reckon I could count on one hand where I got my match kit out again. I was getting everything. I soon had 3 rods, 3 reels. I was addicted to it.
Sorry, how old were you?
That would have been around about 99, so I was 18.
So it's
19.
Yeah, it was quite later then, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I had no interest in catching big fish. I just loved fishing, and still do. But the buzz of that bite, I mean, that's still what does it for me now, regardless of what the fish turns out to be on the other end. It's lovely if it's a big one. But I always think when that bite alarm screams, I've done my bit. I've outwitted that carp. That's what you're there to do. So even if you end up losing it, maybe that bite still gets me going every single time.
Yeah,
it's just wicked.
Yeah, it is. It is. Some of us, it's a bit of a progression. With me, we were sort of tench fishing.
Yep.
For carp fishing tactics before, and it just slowly sort of merged in. But yeah, it's funny how we sort of find our way into it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
So did you? So you came out of school and you worked in the fishing industry straight away?
No, I worked in a hardware shop for a little while. I already had a Saturday job in this hardware shop, and when I came out of school, he said there's a full-time job if you want it, so I just took it. Nearly all of my money got spent in wasses anyway. On a bit for my mum for rent, and then fishing stuff. Got the job in the tackle shop and got to know that. Sorry, that's where I was going. The great thing with working in the tackle shop, you have some really good carp anglers coming through the doors, and I was an absolute sponge. I was constantly gleaning information, listening to everything, and I think my learning curve in carp fishing really spiked really quickly. But I met Sarah, I met my now wife, and the problem with working in, I suppose, any retail is the money that you earn isn't great. And if you want to do nice things, you want to go on holiday, you want to buy a house, you want to get a nice car, it's hard to do that on the wages I was earning at the time. So I spoke to a few friends who sold cars, and I'd always been told, oh, you're a natural salesman, you sell ice to an Eskimo. And never really tried to be, but I listened to Will Wass, who was the owner of Wass's. He died recently, sadly. But I'd always watched the way he did things and learnt from him. He would be the person, I'd say, that made me a salesman. And he was quite ruthless. He was really good. But I always listened to what he was saying. And he was always finding out exactly what that customer needed. Not just trying to sell him something that he wanted to get rid of. He wanted to suit that customer down to the ground. And I just took it from there and carried on doing it in the shop. Got more confident because I'd never talk to people I didn't know. And I found it quite difficult when you're trying to sell people to people you've never seen before. Getting over that bridge at first was really difficult. But I'd soon realised you're just talking to people. Once you get to know them, you find a bit of level ground of some sort, and then you just get on like a house on fire. And someone said to me, even though I've got no interest in cars whatsoever, I said, what you're doing to sell a fishing rod or a fishing reel or a certain bait, you transfer that to car sales and you'll be able to earn a lot more money. And I'll be honest, that was the only motivator to leave the industry. So I got the job, and Damien was already at Korda, and he said, I've heard you're leaving. Is it because you don't like the industry? And I said, no, far from it. I love it. I need more money. And he said, if anything ever comes up at Korda, would you be interested? To which I replied, of course. So anyway, off I went, selling cars. Lovely, getting a new car every couple of months, going to work in a suit. It all felt nice. Got a couple of phone calls over the years from Damo. Well, I was only actually there I was there for 3 years, and I got a couple of calls about certain jobs that had come up, and they weren't a bit of me. Then I got promoted at Ford and became the finance manager. So now I was running a team of salesmen. When the sales manager was off twice a week, I was running the team, and like you step up to sales manager status. Phone call out of the blue from Damo. Spoons, there's a sales manager's job come up here. Would you be interested? Said at the minute we've got a couple of agents, we've got one employed rep. Just want someone to look after them. Jumped at the chance.
I heard about the interview. So how many interviews did you have?
First interview, absolutely fine. I knew Ali, who's one of my customers in Wasses. He was in there. I knew Damo. Damo decided to sit at the back and stay quiet because he'd kind of put me forward to Dan, and Dan was in there. Second time I'd met Dan, once briefly at a carp show, and it was Damo saying to him, Dan, this is Spoons, it'll probably work for us one day. It was when I was leaving Wasses sort of thing. Yeah. So I'm now in an interview, and I think the first interview went great, like really well. So they said, right, we'll get a second interview sorted. In the middle of that, I was going to France with Damo on my first ever French trip, and I was punishing him, saying, when's the second interview going to be? So desperate to get in. Gave me a date for the second interview, and can't tell you what happened. To this day, I will never know what happened. I was
Sorry, so who was interviewing you?
The same three again.
Really?
So
right. Because you would think, wouldn't you? You'd go in there with your chest out a little bit, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. And, just the fact you've got back in for a second interview. I don't know how many other people there were in. I blew it.
Why? What happened?
I don't know.
So what, did you feel nervous?
I don't know. If in the back of my mind, I'm working for a big Ford company. I've made a very quick jump to business manager. I'm probably next in line to become sales manager. So deep down, I wonder if I was thinking, is this the right move? I've got a brilliant career ahead of me.
What you think,
almost subconsciously,
subliminally, you were kind of telling them that you were a little bit unsure about.
I don't even know what I said, but anyway, I left there thinking that was dreadful. And I remember leaving. It was in Romford.
That's a bad sign, isn't it?
When you know,
that's not good, is it?
You know, yeah. And I thought I've blown
it's
this.
Awful.
And I remember getting on the A12, phone rings, Damo, and I thought this ain't to tell me I've got the job. And he basically said, mate, he goes, I don't know what happened in there. He goes, that is one of the worst interviews we've ever
He's always got
had.
Such subtleness with words,
but
hasn't he?
I like that in someone, though. Why try to make me feel better? I'd blown
that
it.
was one of the worst interviews.
He said, he goes, he ain't going to beat about the bush. He said,
no, he won't.
Come back.
Right.
So I went back in. We had a real cards on the table type of chat. And I can't remember what was said in that one. That second interview will stay with me till the day I die. It was dreadful. They gave me another chance. They said, right, we're going to do a phone interview. We'll ring you in a week and do it again. So I obviously hadn't told anybody before. In the meantime, I'd then been promoted to a bigger site. So I'm now I'm the business manager in one of the most prestigious Ford sites that they had, looking after a lot more people. So I've taken another step up. And I've had to go outside in me lunch and do this interview over the phone. And I can't even remember all of the questions that we covered, but I did the interview, and I think it was that afternoon that Damo rung me to offer me the job. So, mate, for all I know, I was the only one interviewing for it, and they really put me through it. I don't know, but I don't think that I was Dan's first choice. I'll be honest. Dan's looking for someone to blow him away in the interview, and I think after the second one, he had big doubts. And I think if he was sat here now, he'd probably say the same. And it still wasn't plain sailing once I got the job. I was then all of a sudden, you've been given a job that there's never really been at the company before. They want you to take it forward. And the first probably 6 months I found tricky. Had another meeting with Ali and Damo because it wasn't going. They hadn't seen enough from me to put my stamp on the job. But it just took a bit of time to settle in. And I think after that, things started to come together.
That is really, in some respects, it's like doing this. It's good because you've got a blank canvas, but it's like, where the hell do you start, isn't it?
And I was still only quite young at the time. And I got the job here in 2007, so I was 26. Every single rep that I had was older than me. The agents were older than me. And Damo was always said, how do you think you'll get on telling them what to do? And I thought, well, I'm not going to tell them what to do. I'm just going to get to know them and ask them what I'd like them to do. You don't have to tell anyone anything.
Did you have targets or anything?
Yeah, but they were never really. I soon set the targets, based on trends from years before, and we sorted the targets out ourselves as a collective in the end. And now I set the whole budget, and they're always pretty good. But
do you see? You're talking about like people on this company, people working for Korda, whether it's like TV stuff or sales stuff.
Yeah.
Quite good natural salespeople anyway. There is a naturalness, isn't there, to being able to sell.
Yeah, I think so.
If you've got to train to be a good salesman, you're kind of losing something, aren't you?
Because you need something. Because you've got your typical salesman.
It's kind of an approval of you as a personality, isn't it?
Yeah.
If people want to buy stuff because they like you.
Absolutely, and that's a big thing.
Yeah.
I had a lot of repeat business in car sales and at the fishing tackle shop. People that would wait to see you because they've clearly had a nice experience the first time round. And once you've got that with somebody, it can be hard to get, all too easy to lose. You've only got to do something slightly wrong and you upset people. It was in car sales and it was in Wass's as well. He always said, under promise, over deliver. Never say you can do something you don't think you can. Always make, if you think the car's going to be here in a week, say it's going to be 2 weeks. And then if it comes in early, you look like a hero. But if you say it's going to be a week and it takes 2, you're a 0.
So many people get that wrong in business, don't they?
Yeah.
They think
they want you to hear what you want to hear.
Exactly. But they don't look at the big picture and what if that goes wrong?
Yeah, that's right.
We know that in this industry as well.
I remember my first day at Korda, I went and sat down with Dan and Dame and he had a list of things that he wanted me to do. And one thing was very clear. He said, if you say to a shop you're doing something, you do it. And I've, never forgotten that.
Well, Damo told me that you're a ruthless salesman.
Far from it.
That's that as well, wasn't he? A ruthless salesman.
Yeah. But I don't think I am. I think a ruthless salesman is... I think I spot them more as a salesman. Like if we go to buy a sofa or something, I switch off if I don't like the way they're dealing with us. But I can't help myself, and my wife hates it because she knows what I'm like. And it's very, very rare in my life that I'm rude. I don't get rude at all. We had a guy come in to sell us double glazing. No, it wasn't. It was to do doors on the back. We wanted 2 new French doors and a new front door. And he made an appointment. He come and sat down, and I said to him, right, just so you know, whatever you say to me today, I am not buying. I said, you could say it's going to cost me £1. I'm not buying it. I've got someone else coming in as well. So don't go too crazy. We're going to have a chat about rough quote and we'll go from there. So he's looked at it, measured it all up, blah, 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 blah. And he said, yeah, it's going to be £8 grand. I can't remember the exact numbers. I went, right, okay, no problem. He went, how does that sound? I went, okay. I said, more than I expected. I said, but that gives me an idea. When someone else comes around, I know what I'm looking at. And he's gone, right. He goes, see, what I could do, and I could see where he was going. I was selling cars at the time. He says, what I could do is I could go and make a phone call to my boss.
Oh, yeah.
But if I go to him to ask for a better deal, I've got to have your approval that you're definitely going to place an order now. He's looking for the close. And I said, no, there's no point calling because I'm not going to give you that. He's like, oh, he goes, I'm going to go and ring him anyway. I went, you can do what you like. He's gone outside. He's made he come. He went, brilliant news. He said, I can do it for $4.5 grand. I went, hang on a bit. I said, mate, I sell for a living. I said, you've gone from $8 grand to 4.5 with me telling you I'm not buying. How low would you go? He goes, I can make another phone call. I went, mate, I said, you need to leave. And I had to force him out of the door because don't get me wrong. Those guys that do that job, they are under immense pressure to get the deal done.
But do you think they're more successful being like that or just being natural and just,
Well, my stance has always been natural. If someone says to me, I'm going to buy today, that's okay. But I will do as much as I can to give you the reasons why buying today would be a great idea.
But is there anything in this, hard sales pitch?
Yeah,
because
I think there is. I've worked with hard car salesmen and they get results. But I think the big difference is they don't see that customer again. They get that result there and then and they wave that customer away happy, but the repeat business doesn't always come. There was a guy that worked at Ford, his name was Barry Rudkin. He never wanted the promotion because he had this little red diary and he was so good with his customers. He would sit there, he'd think, look at their old deal, ring them up. Hello, mate, it's Barry, how are you? He had these little cards. How's your kids? How's Jennifer? She got the university? Oh, that's brilliant. Listen, I've had a look at your deal. I reckon I can improve it if you want to come and have a look. Yeah, all right, Barry, we'll be down later.
Every time.
And he would just sit there churning out more cars than anyone ever would.
Yeah.
But some of the ruthless ones, they'd do numbers, but they also went away quite quickly. They didn't stay in the trade for too long or went to another car dealership rather than staying where they were. And I wanted to build a career. I wanted people to like me. I wanted to do them a good deal. I wanted them to leave happy. And ultimately, I was playing the long game. I wanted them to keep coming back.
Yeah, of course.
That's the same that should be the same with any sales, but there's a lot of hard ones out there.
I've tried doing sales part-time and I get on with people pretty well, I would have thought. And but I just can't sell stuff to people. I want to talk about everything apart from what I'm actually trying to sell. So I put the phone down after half an hour. It's like we've been trying to get a guy on the podcast on here, right? So I've spoke to him for 20 minutes about, I don't know, he's like kitchen and he's like what he's doing and he's like bird watching.
Oh,
and
by
everything.
the way, do you want to come on?
And then he told me at the start of the call that my dinner's on I'm on a time of 20 minutes. And he said, when the time, I've got to go once my dinner's ready. And I went, right, okay. And so we're talking about everything apart from this podcast for 20 minutes, and then he's gone. I haven't asked him.
That approach is fine if you know you've got time.
Need a lot of time. Yeah. Need a few hours.
Yeah.
Tim, have you got any stories with Neil?
I have.
A little bit?
No,
when it's not too bad. When I started, he used to bring me to work a lot. I do remember, and on the way home, we used to. Mate, I worked hard, so I get in the van. We talk for a bit.
Worked hard?
Yeah, I did work hard. All right.
No, he's shaking his head. I don't believe that.
And we used to talk for a bit. I don't know what we used to speak about, and then I'd fall asleep. I just couldn't help it. I'd fall asleep every time.
Literally, right? You'd get. There'd normally be someone else in the van as well. Toby might be in the back. Could be Corin. Could be Neil Raisin. We would talk for about 45 seconds. You'd turn around, Toby's like proper mouth open, storing the night. I've got lots of. I'm like, give Raisin the phone. Yeah, Raisin, get that. The old flash will go off. Take a picture. And he's like, oh,
yeah, I'll wake up. Like, what?
Then he's asleep again.
It's a shame we haven't.
When I left and went to uni, I do remember we tried digging it out. We couldn't find it. I'm sure you made a collage.
You went to uni for a rest.
Oh, what, your collage?
You made a collage of me and all we fly catching in the back of your van.
Loads
all
of them. So funny. Yeah, I'd like to say he was good company in the car, but he wasn't. He wasn't. No.
That good 45 seconds was good talk until I'd fall asleep.
Right, and you were sound though. Worked hard though, didn't you, Toby?
I did work hard, mate. Yeah.
I noticed with your fishing actually watching. I've watched some of the mainline. Lockdown things over. Then you've got Northwick on, and actually talking about Northwick.
Yeah.
Your daughter, she's appeared on a few films, hasn't she?
Yeah, to be fair, I think they've all been on something. But yeah, that was a really nice trip. We had 3 nights ahead of us. Took my daughter with me. Unbeknownst to me, I wasn't allowed to take children. But I'll be honest.
Well, no one's going to know, are they?
You should never assume.
We're looking at the film.
You should never assume something. Johnny Mann had a ticket before me, and he was allowed to take his son down. But I think the year I joined, a few others had joined, and Cole was maybe a bit unsure with everyone taking children. It's a very deep lake. So people had asked me if they could take their kids, and he'd said no. I've just rocked up thinking it's fine, done 3 nights and left. He knew about the filming, that was all fine. And then, look at her, bless her.
Is this Emily?
This is Emily, yeah.
I've met Emily.
Yeah, you have, haven't you? Yeah, she's been in the office.
I was pushing her around the production room thing on a trolley, racing Francesca.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
A couple of Christmases ago.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a very strong-willed young lady,
I can
my
see
daughter.
That, yeah.
She's got this amazing... I don't know if you'll see on here. You can see at the front of her head there, she's got an amazing white streak of hair.
So she's a redhead, but she's got...
Oh, yeah, and she's your typical redhead. She's fiery. My youngest son, her younger brother, is also a redhead. He's exactly the same. Connor, the eldest, is not placid as they come. Really is typical. But yeah, so Cole come up to me the week later. He went, "Oh, Spoons," he goes, "saw a picture you put up with the common. You had your daughter here." I said, "Yeah." He went, "No kids." And I went, "Cole, I'm so sorry." And I told him this. He went, No, it's fine. He said, "But I've had someone call me who I've said no to, saying, well, how come Spooner's allowed?" I went, "Mate, I did not do anything to try and upset anyone. I honestly thought it was fine to bring my children down. It was fine, he let me rejoin, so he was obviously all right about it."
I was going to say, yeah. Does she enjoy it then? Are the kids pestering you to go fishing?
I'll be honest, they like it more once we're out.
Yeah.
Sometimes the thought of the fishing, of getting out there and doing it, they see as a bit of a pain sometimes. But once they're out there, they absolutely love it. Freddie, there you go. That was we just got back from Cassian.
God, you look different there.
It's only a year ago. We got back from Cassian.
Yeah.
I'd been at home one night. I then drove Sarah to a bus, and she went to New York for 5 days with one of her friends. So we went straight fishing for 48 hours. There was me with my 3.
That's a nice picture of all of you there.
Spencer came with his 2 boys. My cousin AJ came with Jamie. AJ, he was on the Master Carp.
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
We had a brilliant time.
Yeah.
It was one of them trips where I couldn't put a foot wrong. I put loads of bait out thinking they'll turn up at night, and an hour later I've had one. My first 6 fish were over 20 pounds.
What are they?
I think we had 16 bites, landed 15, and 10 of them were 20s. Connor had one on his rods as well. Unfortunately, I was fishing at 100 yards, and Connor at the time had some 9 foot, I can't remember the rods, but quite light. We just couldn't quite get him out far enough that sort of range, but he still caught one.
Yeah.
But it was really funny. I'm sorry to keep going on about little stories, but
no, it's nice.
His carp rods weren't doing much, and he's looking through the bags, and he's found Emily's rod, which had a spinner on. And he said, "Oh, Dad, can I have a go with this?" And I went, "You can, mate." I said, "I don't know if there's any pike or perch in here, but you go for it. Just like seeing him casting." Cast gone out, I'm doing bits. I think I was getting a rig ready. He went, "Yeah, Dad, I've got one." And it was so weedy at the time. I just thought he was bringing in some weed. I'm like, "Have you, mate?" And as I'm looking, I can see the rod going, zzz, and he had a little pike. And in the end, all the kids were having a go. Got some pictures of them all with pike. Really nice. Dovey came down that trip with Murphy, his little girl. She was only 5 months old at the time, but he come for a walk out with Lou as well.
They remember those trips for the rest of their lives.
Definitely. I think we're going to try and go out this weekend, actually, because they've not been out for so long.
Yeah. Family stuff's quite important to you.
Massively so, mate. I've 3 children, wife, very understanding. Like I say, the amount I'm away, she has to do it. She has to take on a hell of a lot on her own. But she's strong, my missus. She knows what she's doing, and she sets her mind to something, and it's getting done. She doesn't let it get in the way, if you like. But as soon as I'm home,
it's not going to work otherwise, is it?
No, it's not.
Need to find. You're lucky. You need to find that person that's understanding.
I wouldn't be able to travel as much as I do now. I'm not going to beat about the bush. I quite literally live the dream. Every carp angler's dream. We get to go around the world. We're fishing for some of the biggest fish in the world, and it's our job. Now, there's no upshot. There's no any way of looking at it. No beating about the bush. We're living the dream. But that dream's only possible if you've got someone equally understanding at the other end that's doing a lot of the other stuff that you're not having to at that time. But then she's the first to say, I mean, the amount of times I've come back, been away for 12 days, I'll get in on a Friday, and the Saturday she's going, "You going down Norfolk this week? Are you going down such and such?" And she's like pushing me to get them results as well. She's a blinder.
It's just having someone that understands, don't they? And gets
absolute
that,
diamond.
And you'd be the same with her as well. That's what makes a relationship work.
Absolutely.
You were saying about you got reunited with your father recently, didn't you? Or was that recently?
Yeah, growing up, I was really brought up by my mum. Strong family unit around us. I mean, my mum's family were in the Guinness Book of Records for a little while because there was 10 brothers and sisters, but they were all born boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, all the way down. So for a very short space of time, they were in there until some family they found had 13 children born alternately. But when you've got very much, I was born in a village, very much village mentality. No one ever moves too far away. So we lived in one place. My granddad lived up the road. In the same village, I had my Aunt Nettie and Uncle Ron. I had Aunt Chippy. I had Uncle Bruce, Uncle John, which AJ's dad. So even though I was an only child but by my mum, I still had lots of family around. And yet just didn't really, for whatever reason, I don't know all the reasons, but I didn't really spend any time with my dad. I saw him a few times, took me out a few times, but like I say, don't know the reasons, don't need to know the reasons. But I was probably a bit stubborn when I was younger, and I thought, well, if he's not around, I'm not going to make the effort. It is what it is. So just went about life as normal. Occasionally I'd see my Aunt Teresa, my dad's sister. And when I got the job in Wass's in the fishing tackle shop, it was really strange. This lady came in, and I was writing something to a customer. And as the customer went, she looked at me. She went, "You're Neil, aren't you?" I went, "Yeah." She went, "I've just seen the way you've written." And she went, I knew that you worked in this area. She said, "But your writing is exactly the same as your dad's. I'm your nan." I was like, whoa. Quite blown away by it because I didn't really know that side of my family, so I didn't really know my grandparents. So that felt a bit strange, but I still did nothing with it. I still carried on doing what I was doing. Got the job at Korda, car sales Korda, and I think Connor was born, and I was driving home. I'd been doing shop visits with Garth, I think, one of the old Korda reps. And I was driving home, and I was thinking, do you know what? I've got another side of my family. I knew by then that I had 2 half sisters that we'd spoken briefly many years before when they'd probably tried to reach out to me. And again, being maybe immature, I didn't really want to know. But now I'm sat there thinking, I've got a son. I grew up not really knowing not really knowing that side of my family. I at least want to make the effort for Connor to know his granddad. So I reached out to my dad, reached out to my sisters. It wasn't it wasn't totally plain sailing, but pretty soon.
Because there must be that trepidation about whether they're they're going to accept.
Yeah, absolutely. And
you
you know,
not,
yeah, that's right. My sister Becca, my youngest sister Becca, I think she was 18 at the time. I think I might have that wrong, but she was you know, well up for meeting up. And in fact, she came to stay. It was Connor's. I think it was might have been Connor's birthday party. She came to stay around my house for a couple of nights. That was really nice. Charlotte, like you say, the trepidation was there. I think I remember driving Becca home because they don't live too far away, like a couple of hours away. I drove Becca home, and Charlotte just wasn't quite ready to come and meet me, which is absolutely fine. All of a sudden, I think they must have thought, you know, why now? Why not before? Why now? So I just kept a, you know, nice way to say it now, kept a safe distance, soon as we've got to, but eventually got to meet Charlotte and got to meet my dad and his wife Gillian. And Gillian, it was.
So was it easy from knowing, you know, getting to know your half sisters first of all to actually being introduced to your dad? Was that? Yeah,
it probably helped. I still when I met my dad, it was around at his house with Gillian. My sisters weren't there. We just got the time I actually met him. I can remember it felt really weird. Sarah came with me, as did Connor, and I can remember sat in the kitchen saying hello to Gillian. She made me a cup of coffee, and I could hear my dad upstairs, and that felt really strange. Like, I've not seen him for a lot of years. I remember him taking me fishing. I remember going fishing. I'll never forget it. I just spent me pocket money on a wire trace and a lure. I've had one cast and I've caught quite a big perch, and he asked to have a go and cast it straight in a tree, and we had to pull for a break. I'll never forget that. But yeah, I can remember hearing him upstairs. I remember him coming downstairs thinking, this is it. He's about to walk through the door. I'm going to see my dad for the first time in quite a few years. I guess the salesman in me probably came out. We just got chatting. He's an Ipswich fan like me. He wasn't a carp angler. He was a fly angler. He used to, you know, fluff chucking. But, you know.
Fluff chucking?
Yeah. Me and Sarah probably stayed there for 2 or 3 hours.
And was he as you remembered your dad?
Yeah. Bit older, bit
You got
grayer.
a lot to talk about.
Yeah, but I made a point of not. I don't want to know what went on in the past. It happened for whatever reason. He'd have had his reasons. My mum would have had her reasons. Not my business to a certain extent. And I mentioned earlier, I'm not one to bear a grudge. What's happened, but there's a lot more to look forward to rather than look back. So, you know, he didn't actually live too far from us, literally within half an hour. So we'd often pop round for a little barbecue. They had a nice big garden. The kids love to explore.
But fishing seems to be, you know, the two of you, I mean, being able to go fishing together, it seems to be that common bond thing again,
and we did go fishing. He took me fly fishing. But what I was more interested in, he had this wicked little syndicate he fished on that you'd sit on a raft. You'd sit on the raft and pull, it was attached to a rope both ends. You pull yourself out into the middle of the lake. And, you know, you were sat in the middle of this lake. But as it turns out, I thought I heard a bosh. Now, there's when you hear a carp bosh, there's no mistake. I've turned round and there's these rings. I was like, Dad, this got carp in? He went, oh, yeah, it used to be a carp syndicate. But the people, he got messed around a bit with people turning up at all days because you had to go through the farm. So he just put an end to that and just made it a trout fishery. I'm like, there's still carp in here then. And with that, this 25-pound black mirror came out next to us. All I wanted to do was then think about them. But we didn't. I never got to carp fish it. Never did.
They're still in there?
Oh, yeah. There's probably some big fish in there as well. I know where it is.
Big black one. Oh, yeah, do you?
Yeah. I'll speak to the farmer. Might have to sell myself a little bit.
That's nice though, isn't it?
Yeah, but it was nice. Nice to spend time just with my dad, doing a bit of fishing. As it turns out, he's now a fully fledged carp angler. Yeah. He's got all the kit, everything, twice over in some respects. But we did go carp fishing once. I'll tell a lie. Don't think it was this Christmas just gone. It wasn't because we were away. The Christmas before, we actually went out and fished. I think it was New Year's Eve. Me and Connor went, and he went with his mate Pete, and we started off on one lake. I soon had a pretty good idea we weren't going to catch from there, so went on the other lake, which was an old match lake, and right at the death had 2 or 3 fish, I think. But we've said again this year it's definitely got to happen just to go out. And you know, he said he wants a few pointers. He's just sort of self-taught really, and he's catching a few. But he also says there's times where he feels he should have caught more and hasn't. But yeah, it's great. You know, it's nice.
It's normally vice versa, isn't it? You look to your dad first of all for some sort of fishing help.
Yeah,
and it's like it's role
But
reversal.
if it comes to fly fishing, he would tell me everything that I would need to know. I wouldn't be able to put it into practice well, but he would know.
Yeah. So you're working at Korda in sales then. So how did you get into thinking tackle and all that stuff? Well, can you remember?
Yeah, but I've sort of said I'm in the process of the very early stages of writing a book.
Are you?
Didn't think I'd ever would. It was nothing. I remember reading, I can see Still Searching there, In Pursuit, I can remember reading cover to cover multiple times. Never thought I'd ever catch the fish, if you like, that would make it possible to do something like that. But largely because of Korda, you know, like I mentioned earlier, working in a tackle shop, your angling goes like that. Then you level out a bit when I was selling cars. You come to Korda and it does that even more. And all of a sudden you're hearing all of these carp stories from brilliant anglers, and you can't help but take all of that in. So I've been lucky enough to catch some amazing carp over the years, so I'm starting to write a book, but one of those chapters is going to be how the filming started, and I will never forget it. I'd got home from work, I'd met Sarah in the car park at Sainsbury's, and Connor. She's walking across the car park, 6 o'clock at night, phone rings, Danny Fairbrass. I was like, oh, what's Dan want?
Did you always have a close relationship with Danny, because the company was smaller, I guess, then as well?
Yeah, there was. I think when I started, there might have been 15 or 20 of us. So yeah.
But no suggestions previously that you were going to do any TV stuff?
No, I'd done the odd little feature with James Armstrong, gone out, but that's all stills, catch a carp, hold it up, what rig, all nice. But yeah, I was walking across the car park, Dan rings. All right, Dan. He went, yes, mate, yeah, nothing to worry about. Sorry to call you after hours. I was like, don't be silly. He went, I wondered how you think about being my guest on Thinking Tackle. I was like, really? He went, yeah, mate. He goes, going to go to a lake up in, it was at the, is it Bluebell Complex up in Peterborough?
Yeah.
I was going to go up there, we're going to fish Kingfisher Lake. Just want to see how you approach it. I'll be fishing next door, whatever. I'm like, that'd be amazing. He went, it'll be 3 nights. He's like, do you need to check with your wife? And
she'll say yeah.
I'm like, I already knew that it's such a massive opportunity. She'd never. I went, no, mate. I said it will be fine. She, sure enough, she was as amazed as I was. She's like, really? So yeah, I've met him at Bluebell one morning. I think had he already done a night? He might have already done a night and caught a 36-pounder. When I got there, I'd take the pictures, and Dan's very specific about his pictures, so he settled the camera up. I had to take a few, show them to him, and he was happy, so we were all good. But yeah, that's sort of how it started.
Did you just fall into that quite I mean, did you find it natural being in front of the camera doing that stuff?
Yeah, I think I did. I think the first thing I had to do on my own, I was using I was using naked chods a hell of a lot of the time. I'd be happy to cast that rig or place that rig anywhere. So that was my opening gambit on this lake. Daniel, I used it a lot. So he'd been up all night and he said, I want to go and get some sleep, just do some bits with the boys. So I'm with a film crew that I've never met before. They don't know that I've not done a lot of this before. And they said, right, I want you to talk about your chod rig. So I guess being a salesman, I knew every single product intricately, knew the names of everything. And because it was Thinking Tackle, you are running through absolutely everything. Not keeping any secrets. You're giving everyone the same ammunition that you've got to tie that rig. So I've run through it all, how it works, why I use a light lead, why at the time I like the pale pink pop up, everything I could mention, and done it. Took a few takes for certain little bits, but we got through it. Anyway, Dan's he's come round. He went, oh, right, Spoons. He said, I need you to do a big rundown of your chod rig with the crew. I went, I've done it. He went, eh? I went, we've done it while you've been over there. He's like, I have to have a look at it. Because, he needs to know it's right as well, because the crew at the time are non-anglers. They're believing everything you're saying. They don't know all of the intricacies of the rig. But yeah, it was good. Dan was happy with it.
It wasn't an easy venue, really, was it, to do your first one on? I mean...
Well, yeah, I did certainly get stitched up by Dan. Dan was in a swim, I was next door, and I found this lovely little spot, and did I have all 3 rods or 2 rods? I can't remember, but I've got the rods out. And then on the second day, in really close, I kept getting these shows and a bit of fizzing over this weed. So I've reacted, I've reeled in. I've got 2 little chods in amongst it. And a carp showed over my baited spot where I've still got a rig. Second night, had bream, no carp. Hadn't caught anything. Going into the last night, some bloke sets up to my right, fishes a bit, probably didn't fish too far out, but he's now spodding next to my carefully laid traps, literally within you 2 away from each other. That's my spot. He's there, crashing the water around. And I just went into Dan and I said, mate, I am not going to get a bite. I said, I'm going to go for a wander. He's like, what do you mean? I said, I'm going to look at the other lakes. There's 3 other lakes. If I just can create my own opportunity, might be 4 other lakes, but I'll be happy with that. So I've gone for a wander. I've got to a lake called San Martin, and I'm watching this reed bed. And I thought, as I'm looking at it, already, I thought I saw some bow waves right off the edge. So I just sat there and watched, and sure enough, one clattered out. I'm like, right, I can't fish it from here. There's no way I can get a rig in. So I've walked round to where it was. There's this little swim in the reeds. And I thought I could wade out, walk along and lower me rig. That's got to do a bite. So, did that. Got moved at night, just before dark. So Dan made me wear a GoPro on my head just to cover the move. Got into the position, waded my rig, one down to the right, one out to the left, and one just flicked just off the drop-off, a bit further than I can wade. Bit of bait on it. Woke up in the morning, nothing's happened. I was gutted. I was sure I was going to get a bite. As I'm sitting there, it was about 6 o'clock. The one just in front of me, all of a sudden the bobbins pulled to the top, tips just started to pull down and started to trundle off, and I've landed a carp. Amazing. So I've reeled the other 2 rods in because I wanted to get the crew were all with Dan, running round, buzzing because I've landed one. Dan's had one in the night as well, so it's all come together nicely. He's like, oh, well done, Spoons. I've sort of gone back, we've filmed that fish, I've waded my rigs back out, and it's gone again, the right hand rod this time. And I'll never forget it because I'm wading out there. I'm now up to me, not quite my chest, but I'm out there. The fish is almost ready. I've got no landing net. So I've had to call Matt, the cameraman, Matt's in the water with me, or one of the cameramans in the water with me in his waders. I said, someone's going to have to launch the net. And all of a sudden in the film, when you watch it, you just see this landing net come flying over and land on my head. I was like, cheers, boys. And netted another one. So, yeah, it wasn't an easy venue.
No.
And I probably went to one of the easier ones in hindsight to get a bite. But I didn't care. I didn't want to go there and I knew I wasn't going to catch that last night.
Inadvertently, you kind of made the film what it was as well, because it gave it a bit more variety as well. So
yeah, it really did.
Yeah, the first one I remember you on. How far in were you filming then? I think it was Sandhurst.
Oh, with Elliot.
Was that quite?
Yeah, that was the first one I sort of
did on your own.
That's right.
Was it? Yeah. Yeah, I thought so.
But again, bit daunting. All of a sudden, you're not a guest; you're a presenter. And we sort of agreed that I was presenting, but it was kind of we were presenting together. Elliot was good on camera; he was a good angler. But I sort of took the lead, if you like. Ali came down for a bit of advice as well, because I'd never done it before. He came down when we were about a night into the trip. And I just enjoyed it. I think that's, you speak to Damien. What Damien delivers on camera, I like to watch. He hates it. Absolutely hates it. But I don't know, it's like when Damo speaks, you listen. But he just doesn't enjoy doing it. I guess that's why some of us have had additional opportunities to step up, because you've got someone at the very top who just doesn't enjoy that sort of thing quite so much.
Yeah, especially with what you're doing. I mean, it needs to be commercial, doesn't it? I mean, because you're going out to such a wide audience as well, aren't you? And you need that type of personality, don't you? If you're a kind of a cult underground angler, I mean, we love that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you've got to think about the audience in general.
I honestly think one of my biggest benefits for that sort of thing is that, as I mentioned earlier, I will gladly go anywhere to carp fish. I don't care if I've got the last swim on a busy day ticket lake. If I've got the rods out, I'll back myself and think, well, there might be a fish here to be nicked. I never sit there thinking I'm definitely not catching. If it's a 10-pounder on the end, I don't care. And I think that's what's almost given me my own little angle to it, because I will fish for anything. They haven't got to be 30-pounders. They haven't even got to be 20-pounders. Just that love of love fishing. Always have.
But thinking tackle was good. I mean, Monster Carp is like the dream job, isn't it?
Yeah.
I remember being, I was on Save one night, walking around the North Bay at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and Damo comes round. You see a head torch coming around. Who's this at like the middle of the night?
Yeah.
Damo comes round and he said, I said, "A good day away." He said, "Yeah, brilliant. We've just signed a deal with ITV today." And that was for Monster Carp. Did you know that you were going to get that job doing that?
Well, no, because initially it wasn't going to be Monster Carp. Initially, this was Thinking Tackle season 10, and we wanted a season of really aspirational venues. And I'll be honest, I got a phone call from Dan saying we're only doing a few episodes. They're all going to be abroad. I think it's going to be done by me, not me. This is Dan talking. By Dan, Daryl, Ali, and Dovey. I was like, totally understand. He goes, there'll be bits we'll need you to do for the website, blah, 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 but for this special season, we're going to do it all. No worries, mate, totally understand. They were due to go to Balaton, and I think it was Ali, Tom, and Daryl that were going. But I don't know if in the end something clashed with Daryl and he couldn't go, and neither could Dan. So I then get a phone call only 5 days probably before we were going. So, mate, can you fill in for Dan? You'll have to check. Sorry, can you fill in with Daryl? You'll have to check with your missus because we're probably going to be away for 10 nights. So I was like, yeah, well, I will check with Sarah. Just it's the right thing to do. And Sarah was absolutely fine. Again, see, she didn't know it was going to be going on to ITV, but she still knew that's a big opportunity to risk turning away, you know. So we went and filmed at Lake Balaton, and that was the only one I did in that series. It was the first one we filmed. They went on to Japan, they went to Austria, and I think Italy. And I didn't do any of those. I think the Balaton episode went out as the second episode in that series.
Was there a pilot or anything before?
No.
So were the stakes any different now you knew that like ITV were, you know, you had a big, you were making programs for a big TV network?
Well, even then, I didn't know that. When we were still filming that,
Right.
It wasn't an ITV show. Ali's tenacity, he'd had this idea, I think along with Nick, the director, they work on Big Fish Off together. But it's Al's tenacity and maybe, you know, Nick's knowledge that saw the thing through to the finish line to get it onto terrestrial. Once we were going back for season 2, I think it was Morocco, the first one we were going to film at Bin El Wadan. Then it felt surreal because I'd already seen it go out on ITV, my first episode, and you're like, wow, terrestrial TV with a carp fishing program, not a fishing program, a carp fishing program.
No, you're kind of you're with Jeremy Wade and those type of people.
I suppose you are. Yeah,
it's a totally different.
But so when we went to Morocco and it had been decided that it was going to be just me, Ali, and Tom for the foreseeable, we were the 3 presenters. Yeah, I still take and will take immense pride of being part of that whole project, you know.
Massive.
Yeah.
Huge. So you never actually felt like you were being interviewed for that job then?
No, not at all.
You kind of just merged
it just
into
happened. Yeah, absolutely. People say, you know, you get lots of people from youngsters that want to become famous in fishing. And my answer's always the same. Look, don't worry about it. Just go fishing. How do you get a job at Korda? Is it to do with how many fish you catch? No, but if you get yourself a good skill set behind you, whether it's marketing, CAD design, sales, you need to have something that a company like Korda or any other of the manufacturers can get from you. They need some worth from you. And if you've got that, other things can happen, because that's what's happened to me. I certainly had no idea it would ever go this way, but, you know, thank my lucky stars that it has.
It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, you could have been selling cars, and
I could have been. Sat in a nice office.
And what about the travel and stuff like that? When did you realise? Because this is a little bit more than just going around Europe. You know,
Absolutely.
this
Texas
is global.
Yeah,
I love the Texas one.
Yeah, it's one
I
of
love
my
those
even though I
buffalo.
didn't perform particularly well. It's brilliant.
Yeah,
I love
great
America
fish.
anyway.
They were great fish.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
It's, as I said earlier, mate, living the dream. That side of it is an incredible journey that we just don't want to end.
The highlight has got to be.
There's only one. I've had some amazing highlights. Let's face
You've had some great time.
Cassian.
But it's got to be, hasn't it?
Oh, getting goosebumps thinking about it. But I can tell a story on here that I've told the odd person to, but this is classic. So I was speaking to, when I knew we were going, it was definitely on. And when we were going, I think the previous autumn, Dan Wildboar had been out and caught quite a few. And if I can, I'm always one to get as much information as I can. It's hard on a 1,200-acre lake to get lots of information that you feel you can use, but I will always ask the question. So I punished Dan for a bit. He asked what time we were going to be there. And one thing stuck with me. He said, mate, if you're in the West Arm and the water level's down and it starts to come up, don't ignore the margins. And he said, I mean really close in, like a rod length. They get in there. I'm like, right, cheers, mate. We turn up at Cassian, they've had no rain for 70 days. So it's down. The first night, absolutely torrential thunderstorm. Raining all night, water level came up by, must have been a foot the first night alone. Water's coming up, and at the time I'm fishing, I was in Kevin Ellis Point, so I already knew about the plateau that was out in front of it. When I got there, it was almost out of the water, you couldn't stake it. Gone around in the boat, got an idea how quickly it slopes off, where the real deep water was. Just having a general play around, trying to find my feet, lowering rigs from the boat, as everyone does. Got the rod sorted in the morning. And I've tried something on a close in rod. I put it over like 4 kilo of bait just to try something. And by close, I mean probably 20 yards. I've got one off the side of the plateau, one, off the left side of the plateau, and right down the far side, probably 100 yards down, maybe a little bit further, we'd seen loads of catfish. And they were eating ruddle as if they were surface feeding, you know. But I thought I knew about a spot down there that a guy who'd been helping us told about. So I had one out there as well. So all well spread out, all doing something slightly different just to try and get an idea, find our feet. It was only the first full day. I've walked around the side of my swim. Ali was over in Avalon. So looking across, probably 500 yards away. As I'm looking out, I've done this. I've looked down and there is this massive patch of cloud. Massive. I'm like, oh my God. So I've crept back. I'm like, you're doing something different. I've had a cut of bream off you. I know you're clean. You're out there. This rod. So I've quickly wound it in. I was using Kamakura's really sharp hook. As I've looked at it, the point was dinked. I'm like, can't have that. Can't risk that. So I've quickly changed the hook to just a normal crank size 2 on a combi rig. I've got 2 tiger nuts and 2 tiger nuts in pineapple goo. And the plan was just I put a smaller lead on. I was just going to literally lower it down and maybe put a couple of chops around it, because that's another thing Dan said. In the spring, same as anywhere, you don't need loads of bait. You're setting traps for these fish. So I've literally walked back to the edge, and as I've got there, the cloud's still there. But by still there, I mean it is in exactly the same position. Not one bit has moved.
Amazing.
I'm looking, thinking, something ain't right. So I've stepped back, I've taken my rig off, I've lowered the lead into the cloud. It's gone about that far. It was a rock.
Oh no, we were on the edge of our seat there.
It wasn't a cloud at all. So I'm like, I've just reeled a rod in and I'm now fishing on a rock that I thought was fizzing and feeding. So I told Daniel, who was my cameraman at the time, we were laughing about it. So I said, look, it doesn't matter. So I'm not going to go back out in the boat though. I knew how far I was fishing. I knew there'd been a fish caught the morning before, or that morning in, let me get this right, 3.5 to 4 meters. And I knew how the plateau or leveled out, so I knew where my guideline was roughly to hit that sort of depth. So still kept the same tiger nut, same rig, and I thought I want a little bit of bait around it, and I'll put a stringer on. But rather than putting the stringer on the hook like perhaps you normally would, I was paranoid that because you get sandy spots and gravelly spots, I thought if that clatters down into the gravel, I could dink me hook again. So I just put some 18mm cell, 6 baits, and tied it around the leg clip, just so there was a little bit of bait near it. Lined it up, flicked it out, hit it, dink, got a nice drop. Didn't feel like the gravel, it actually felt like the sand. Thought that'll do. As it turns out, that's the one that went off. So I've had this bite, and I'm convinced, because I've now seen 50 catfish not 100 yards away, between 15 and 50 pound.
You took one of those.
I'm convinced I've hooked one of these.
Yeah.
When I look back at the footage now, because at the time it all went by in a blur, when I looked back at it and saw how my rod was hooped over. My rods have never hooped over that far. It was clearly a big fish from the get-go. When it rolled for the first time, I'd actually seen it flash about a minute before I definitely saw it roll, and it was quite pale. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I'm not going to say anything because it could be the belly of a catfish quite easily. But deep down, I knew it was a carp. Then
had you seen pictures of this particular fish before? Right,
no,
okay.
Never seen it before.
Right.
I hadn't seen loads.
No.
In all honesty, it was the ones that Dan had sent me. And over the years, many years ago, when I was just got into my carp fishing, lots of people were going out there, and I certainly couldn't remember any of those fish. Anyway, it rolls properly, and it's a carp. And I've not gone out in the boat to play it, which people normally do. I played it all the way in. All of a sudden, it's locked up. Down to my right, so I've waded down thinking please just put a little bit more pressure on it. Turns out it wasn't locked up, it was just massive. And as it's come up, gone in the net, as I said on there, I didn't know what to say. I didn't care how big it was. I had no idea at the time that it was as big as it was, but I thought it was a 50 pounder, and we'd set a team target of 50 pound, and I'm like, blimey, first full day I've done it. So I've rung out, he's buzzing. He said, right, mate, do it all yourself. He goes, it's bite time. We've got about 45 minutes left. I want to leave my rods out. I'm like, yeah, of course, mate, of course. I've gone back to a guy called Romain Blanc, who was my cameraman, French guy, as the name probably suggests. And he's looking at the fish. He's going, Neil, I think this is 27, 28 kilo. 27, 28, double it, 56 pound, another 0.2, 60 pound. My PB's 60 pound 4. I might have a PB from Cassian. So I rung Al back. I said, look, mate, I said, we've gone back to this fish. We've rolled it in the net. We think it's £60. He's like, how sure are you? I said, it's up that way. I said, it's massive. He went, all right, I'll get the crew back. They're all staying in his sheet. They've all gone home for the day. I'll get them all back. So, yeah, obviously it's got dark. So I hooked that fish at 5. I think it was...
It was so atmospheric watching that.
Because
it was like a dark blue sky, wasn't it? With the rod hooked over.
Properly hooked. Got all the crew back, and sure enough, I'm pacing the bank. I've reeled my rods in because it's got, you've got your limit, half hour past sunset, rods in. So I've reeled the others in. I'm pacing the back, just wanting to know, just buzzing, just texting a few people that I've caught one. Then I've seen the Armada leave Ali's swim, like 2 boats full of people coming across. Ours come out. We've had an embrace. He's looked at it. He went, yeah, 58 to 62, I reckon. It's up there, mate. Well done. We've lifted it together on the mat, and he's just gone, that is massive. Again, what it doesn't show in that, I used my landing net handle to weigh the fish. The first time we went to lift it just split the landing net handle like it wasn't there. So we had to use the other end of it, the thick of it. I don't know why we didn't in the first place. When he said how big it was, he's like, I can't quite give you 72. Sorry, what? £70?
You got a picture, Tom? It's like it's got 2 bellies.
Yeah. It turns out it's a fish they call the kebab fish.
Yeah, I wonder why.
Well, the reason is there's a guy that's caught it twice, fishing evenings after work, eating his kebab for dinner, and he's caught it twice.
Looks like that thing's been eating kebabs as well,
it does.
doesn't it?
Oh, it was insane. Absolutely insane. Look at it.
It's immense.
And the stupid thing is, caught up in the moment, I could not tell you what the other side of that carp looks like.
No.
We didn't photograph the other side. Everything was done that size. Just so I was more, once we'd got it on the bank, I was genuinely more concerned about getting it back in. We did one take with a bit of, when I was talking about it, didn't want to do it again, quickly lifted it to get a couple of shots.
You've done well to hold it like that, actually, now.
I'm pretty powerful. So,
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. You can see that from there, can't you?
Yeah. No, that's a real typical Cassian carp as well, isn't it? If you're going to design a carp out of that lake, do you think it is the biggest fish in there?
Yeah. Well, they think there's one other fish that at the rate it's been growing will be that sort of size, but it's never been caught at that sort of size. That is the one that is pretty much known as the big un. So one bite from Cassian, 1,200 acres of water, and you catch the biggest fish in there. That's the sort of thing Dovey does.
Did you just want to go home after that?
I wanted the next one. That's my problem. I'm addicted to getting a bite. As it happens, I flew home the next day for my little boy's birthday. And flew back out. Yeah. And we didn't have another bite. Not one other bite.
Did you just fly there by yourself, or did you get an aeroplane?
Oh, yeah, I could have done. Yeah, that was a bit weird walking around an airport on your own. Still buzzing.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, incredible.
That's just job done, isn't it? I mean, you couldn't... How many times would you have to go back there to... You couldn't...
I will never do anything. Lots of people have said, where'd you go from there? And I said, well, it's a fish I'm not ever going to try and beat. I might one day catch a bigger carp, but I think that will be my personal best forever.
But that program in particular as well, it was because the fishing, you could see how hard the fishing was on that lake as well.
We'd actually got our timing wrong. We thought that by being in the West Arm at that time, that there'd be a lot of traffic coming through, getting ready to spawn, because they spawn in the out of bounds, nearly another kilometre away into the West Arm that you can't fish. As it turns out, they were already there. Yeah. And I think I caught one of the last big female coming in. Yeah, she was seen in there on the underwater cameras by the locals. 5 days later, spawning. Yeah. So just
yeah, amazing.
The more I think about that, like that cast, what if I'd have cast a rod length shorter? Yeah, madness, crazy.
You do see him getting caught and casting very close, don't you? That seems to be watching Adam Penning and stuff. And you are literally doing what just dropping.
But you go too far and you're in 40 foot of water before you know it.
Yeah. Go back there again?
I'd love to. Well, I will do. We say that we're lucky that we're like Balaton. I said I'll go back, and I still hope I will. I've really enjoyed a lake in Slovenia called Smartinsko, and you say you'll go back, and you hope you will. I know I'll go back to Cassian.
So out of all the waters you've fished so far on Monster Carp, that is the one.
Oh yeah. It's the atmosphere of the place. Thinking of who stood there before you. I was on that point that Kevin Ellis, I made a mistake in the film, unbeknownst to me, but someone came up to me at a carp show. I said in the film, I'm on the swim that, over here, Kevin Ellis might have weighed that 70 pounder. He actually hooked it from there, but landed it on the far bank and did the picture on the other side. And I wasn't aware of that.
Actually, Kevin Ellis's fish wasn't that dissimilar to that one.
No, it wasn't. No.
It's quite similar. I mean, he was
amazing,
struggling with it. But
I had a chat with Rob Hughes about it, and that potentially, I think I may only be the second guy from the UK to catch a 70 from Cassian. Just like, well, it doesn't. It has. I don't think it's done a 70 pounder for so many years either. It's incredible.
I like the play. I like the way it just draws people back, though.
Yes.
Even though, I mean, you could go to. There's countless lakes now.
How many are you driving past to get there?
Well, we were talking about Gigantica, aren't we? And there's so many lakes, but it's just. It's like a Redmire, or
That's right.
It's got that sort of quality to it, isn't it?
Exactly.
What's it like? What's it like working with Dovey and Ali? I mean, you've got. Dovey's annoying, isn't he? Because he's good at everything, isn't he?
He is. He's just naturally good
at everything.
He reads the water well.
Yeah.
He puts his rigs in the right spot, and when he tells you what he's done, you're like, yeah, that is absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
And me and Al, we're doing what we think's right. I'll be honest, Al might not say the same, but
you're very modest.
No, but let's face it, we all know how to catch a carp.
Right.
We've all caught lots and lots of carp over the years.
Nice picture.
But there's no two. Some people have just got it.
Yeah.
And I think if Dovey had more time on the bank, he would be rivaling a lot of the very best. I really believe that.
Yeah. But it makes it. I mean, even for people that don't go fishing, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but so many people would tell you this. But there is a really, really good. It's just a natural chemistry there.
I think it's because we're mates, genuinely.
Yeah.
And I've known Ali. I started working in a tackle shop in '99. I probably met Ali in the year 2000, so that's 20 years ago. Dovey's worked at Korda marginally longer than me. That's 13 years. So we've only come together on this. Well, 2015 was when we filmed Balaton. So, you've got a lot of years of friendship already. We know what makes each other tick. We also know how to take the mick out of each other.
Aren't you fed up with them now, though?
No. They're literally like...
Don't you ever get mad with them?
No. They might get mad with each other. They might get mad with me. But they'll tell you. They'll all say, I'm just Camp Placid. Nothing bothers me.
Well, we tried to get some dirt on Neil, haven't we, Toe? But it's
we
really, really difficult.
Everybody was just too nice about you.
Yeah, I mean, Danny said, you'd be on the phone and you say, just a quick call, Dan, and it's like a long call, but it's like there's not really anything like. Has he been in a fight with anybody or anything?
Never had a fight in my life. I just don't know. I'm just placid. I like, it all came about in the media a few months ago. The slogan came out, "Be nice," and I just thought, I've been doing that for years. You don't need to be horrible to anybody.
Yeah,
you really don't.
Yeah, no, it's a good way to be.
I think so. But you're right. In that show, we've all got our place. Dovey is the natural. Ali, if you like, is the entertainer. I'm the one that's happy to catch whatever comes along. We do bond and gel very, very well.
Yeah, no. Well, long may it continue as well.
I hope so.
You've also, because you caught your British PB, didn't you, on camera? Was that
funnily enough,
Top Lake?
We came back from Balaton, and I had a ticket on Cleveley Top Lake near Chelmsford. I think I had about a week at home, and me and Dovey had a ticket as well. So we went to do a night together. It was quite funny. He was in one swim on the side of the lake, and I was up here, if you like. We had nothing through the night, but they started showing down the far end, and Dovey saw him first. So he's moved round there. I've then gone and stood in his swim and saw a fish show. So I've moved into his old swim. Before I know it, Dovey's had a 30-pound, I want to say common. No, it wasn't then. It was a 30-pound mirror. And as he's walked back into his old swim to see me there with my rods out, I've had a bite and lost it. Gutted. And I was due to go out the following week with Joey Morgan for Carp TV. And what he basically said, because it had been quite a cold winter, he said, mate, you've got to catch wherever we go. So we were going to go to Fens Fishery in Braintree. We were going to do some spotting over zigs because we knew we'd get bites. Nothing big, but he just wanted some action. Well, because I'd lost that one, I begged them, I said, Joe, find me another angle. I want to go and do a day at my syndicate. So we came up with short session syndicate fishing. He did the night with Dovey. They'd both caught. I think Dovey again had a 30-pounder that night, and Joe had a 27. And I rocked up in the morning, done a little bit to camera. I'd fished this swim where the wind was due to be blowing in. Horrible day. I had a stinking cold. I'm standing out the front of the swim in the rain. I've got one rod sort of tucked down here and two cast out to fish that I'd seen show. Sat there quite happy.
Did you get that on... Because I watched that the other night, actually.
Yeah.
Do we actually see that fish show out the water?
Possibly. You see something
You
show.
do, and it looked quite big as well,
Yeah,
didn't
but
it?
at the time there was probably 15, 30 pounders in there, so there was some good fish.
Yeah.
But from the far end of the lake, literally the opposite corner to where I was, I saw one show. So I sat and watched there for a couple more minutes, thinking if I see another one, I'm going to go and have a look. Sat there, another one. So Nick, who was the Carp TV, was his baby, if you like. He was also the cameraman. I said, Nick, just watch me rods. I'm going to run round there to have a look. So I've legged it round there, stood in I can't remember the name of the swim. I'll come to you in a minute. Stood there, tiny little swim that no one ever fished, and I saw 2. So I've gone back round, and I said, right, Nick, what we'll do, we'll go round there with just a bag of bait, and we'll chuck out 30 or so boilies, and we'll do a bit. I'm just prepping it for a move in a little while. So we've trudged all the way round just with this bit of bait, and as I've got there, I saw 2 more fish. I said, you know what, mate, I don't want to feed them. Let's just go and move. So we've then gone back round, got all the kit on the barra. And it was quite funny because I've barrowed all the way round. And before we cast out, Nick said, just go and tell Joe what you're doing. So he knows. He's at the far end of the lake. So I've nipped back to see Joe. I said, Joe, just said, I'm moving, mate. I'm going up in that top corner. He went, someone's already beat you to it. I went, what do you mean? He went, someone else just got in. I've just seen him go past. I went, no, that was me. I said, that was all Mikey. I've come to see. He's like, oh, right. Got in the swim, and I've only put 2 rods out. I've literally tied up the first choddy, or not tied it up, put a fresh hook bait on. At the front of the swim, one's shown to my right, straight in the rings. Put it down. Got the second one, stood up, out to the left, straight in the rings. Sat there for a bit, 15 minutes maybe, nothing happened. I've kind of got one out there and one down here, and there's all this water where I've already seen fish show, and I had a little wafter rig still tied up, just with, I think it was a combi rig. And I said to him, I'm just going to put this one out just in the middle. So flipped it out. And we were doing a bit, sat down, doing a bit about something else. And that rod pulled up tight. And just as I got to it, started taking line. I'm back winding. Nice. Feels decent. I'm talking lovely to camera because I just think I've finally hooked one. It feels like a good fish. This is all good, isn't it? I'm all excited. Seen it roll once. I'm like, you look pretty good. And then without me realising, when I now watch it back, I don't say a lot after that.
Yeah.
I'm all of a sudden like, this is big. This is a big 30 pounder. This. I'm gonna just take me time. I'm in my waders, ready to go in case it goes in the reeds. And it rolls again, and I'm like, that looks really big. I'm about to go in the water because it's going right round to my right, but as it happens, it just went out on a nice arc and it sort of came round straight in the net. And as I'm looking at it, I'd only had 2 fish out of the lake. I'd only 1 fish. I'd had a 30 pounder. And I'm looking at it thinking, oh, he's big. Then Joe's appeared. He's like, that's the big one, isn't it? I went,
you could see when he looked in the net, couldn't you? You
takes
could
his
see him
glasses off,
thinking, you could see it. Yeah.
I'm like, is it a big 40? It can't be. Soon dawned on us. Once you sort of take a step back and then look at it again, I'm like, my God, that is massive. So yeah, a little Carp TV section. I was meant to be at a lake catching singles, turned into one bite there, catching a 47 pounder.
That's a really...
And then I moved again. They started showing somewhere else. So I've moved again for the end of the trip and caught a 20 pounder at the depth as well. I mean, look at him. Geezers, it was called. Fish. I think Scott Geezer Grant caught it the first time over 40 pound, and it just sort of stuck that it was called Geezer's.
Did it go much
fish.
bigger than when you caught it?
No, it got caught the week before I had it at 48.
I walked around there last year, actually.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
It's a lovely lake, but not much to it. And
it's different to the other lake, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Cleveley Mere is a bit more...
Hendricks. And
it's
a nice...
A bit more intimate.
Yeah.
You've got a bit more going on. This is obviously like a square lake, but I enjoyed, but I didn't do much time. I really wanted to catch a fish called the Scar. So I went back the following week with Dovey. Yet again, I think he might have caught a 30 pound cobbler, and I caught this really little weird, unique fish. It had the most strangest mouth I've ever seen. It wasn't damaged. It looked like almost like a seahorse. It's really weird, tiny mouth. About 18 pound. I sent a picture to Ben, who ran it at the time, and he sent me this stocking picture from God knows how many years before that his dad just chucked in there. Definitely the same fish, never been caught. I think it was put in at about £3, and he'd never seen it. There it was at 18. It was so strange.
It's nice.
But then shortly after, Dovey caught Scar, 38, 37, something like that. And that was quite an old fish, and unfortunately it died soon after, so I never actually went back.
It's a good ticket, wasn't it? Actually,
yeah, it was.
Because you got both lakes on the same ticket, do you?
No, you join. You can have a coverall. But
Yeah.
at the time, I think you had a gold ticket. I just had a ticket for the top lake.
Well, that's catching fish by design, because I know that you just enjoy, you just enjoy catching carp.
Yeah.
But didn't you say that you caught single scale from Lakelands was that a little bit more by
in the
design?
end it was.
Yeah.
To start with, like you say, I had a ticket for 3 years in total, and the first 2.5 years I would spend a lot of time fishing in and around the snags, because I knew I could get bites. I was always going to catch. Most nights I could guarantee a bite, and that's what I lived for. I caught one of the big ones off the side of the snags that Ali said I never would. I caught Swirly, spawned out 37.10. But that was the one that caught my attention. I saw that in the hut one day.
That's a nice carp.
I said early on where I never really clicked with the quarry and looking for a reason to go elsewhere. I got a phone call from my mate Brad, who worked for Leader at the time, and he said, I'm over Lakelands for a few nights if you fancy a guestie. Jumped at it, went straight down there, saw a picture of that fish in the hut, asked the owner there and then if I could have a ticket, and gave him the money the following week. Never went back to the quarry, I don't think, after that. That was what I was looking for. And I'd never really... I had targeted fish previously, but much smaller fish. I'd read Terry Hearn's book and I wanted a target fish, so I fished for a fish called Gaza. That was my first big target fish, that one. But I spent 2.5 years not really fishing for it, and in the end it was obvious that he got caught a lot of the time in the back bay. So one day I went down around peg 17, found this plateau, I was going to concentrate on fishing bang on top of it with 2 rods and 1 down on the base of it as well, and just really put the bait in. Activate I decided to use.
Sorry, what? So single scale. How did he get caught? How are people catching it?
He would almost get caught anyhow.
Right.
In that, boilie fishing predominantly, but he'd get caught on chods, he'd get caught on the bottom, he'd get caught on snowman, but it was often in that back bay area. He would get caught off the point as well, and he would get caught from other areas, but certainly not from the snags. It had never done a capture for him. But even though I wanted to catch him, I just wanted to catch fish. But after I'd caught lots of the big ones, not all of them. I never had the half lin, really never had stumpy pecks, which pains me because that was an amazing carp. He was the one I wanted, so I set up this plan of getting in the back bay and just being stubborn, not looking anywhere else. If 17 was free, I was fishing 17. And I'd been fishing it for a few weeks and I was catching really well. I spent a lot of bait in, I'll be honest. I was getting there for an overnight, putting 5 kilos of Activate on the spot. If you put a kilo out, you'd have loads of tench. You almost had to overfeed to get the tench out of the way for the carp to come in.
Really?
I sort of worked that out, and that 5 key, it is a lot of bait, and it sounds like a lot because it is. But I'd have 3 a night once I got it going. But I wasn't catching anything big. And I remember fishing just with a little 18 miller, top slightly trimmed off with a tiny bit of foam, just to sort of negate the weight of the hook a little bit and give it a little fleck of colour. Anyway, I was going through these motions, wasn't catching the ones I wanted to. And I got this urge to have a little wade, as I often do, and look for spots that could only be reached by waders that people would ignore. And I found this little spot about 20 yards down to my right. You almost had to go out and around this tree. And as I come back in, there was this little dinner plate. And I looked at that, thought, carp's fed there. I'm going to catch single off you. So I started to bait it with a tiny amount of bait. I didn't want it. If you put too much in, I felt the tench would be cleaning it out. But I'd go down there. I went down there every night for a week with 2 pop-up tubs of bait. And I'd wade out through these trees, like under the cover of darkness, and I'd be putting these little pots of bait on. And I'd always there was this branch, little tiny branch that I'd lay across the spot, so that I thought if a tench comes in, that will probably still be there. But if a carp comes in, they'll move it. It'll be out.
Crafty thing.
And I think it was night 3 of being in there. There was never any bait left.
Yeah.
Night 3, the stick had moved as well. I'm like, here we go. So I still carried on baiting, and I had a 24-hour session booked.
Would he get caught with other fish?
Yeah, he wasn't.
So
there was no.
He wasn't
real,
a lone fish.
Yeah, he wasn't alone.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, I'll try something else as well. Seeing as going back to the original spot, the top of the plateau would always produce. I don't think I ever got a bite off the bottom of it. I don't think. So I thought, right, I'll put 2 rods on the plateau, but I'm going to put a greedy pig rig out. So I've put 3 18 millers on a hair and kept 1 doing what it's always done. Got to about 10 o'clock at night. There was a geezer I don't know if he'll watch this or not. I'll be honest, I can't remember his name, but we called him Pylon Dave. God knows, he was tall, Pylon. Where Dave, he definitely wasn't called Dave, but he became known as Pylon Dave. And Pylon Dave was down in Peg 19, I think it was, which was another good area. He too was also fishing for single. 3 weeks before this trip, 3 weeks, 3 days before this trip, Luke Stevenson had caught it, 37.3. And he texted me saying, mate, I'm sorry, I've had it. I was like, don't be sorry, mate. And he was doing a bit more. So I was doing one night a week, and Luke had a bit more time, and Luke, he's good. You know, I watched his podcast, and that boy is good. He's another one that's got it. But when Single did that first capture, he'd often do another one 3 to 4 weeks later. So I've timed this trip in. As it turns out, and I didn't know this at the time until I looked back, it was the day after a full moon. I had no idea. But you start talking about the moon phase, and you start to look at the fish you've captured, and it turned out that was just after the full moon. Anyway, I've got in the swim. Luckily, it was free. Got me greedy pig out. Got me little balanced activate out, and I've weighted this other one down. I've laid it all down lovely, buried the tip. I'm like, you are the one. Talking to Pylon Dave, the atmosphere is electric, and we're like, I'm going to him, it could happen tonight, Dave. He could be out quiet. I said it's been 3 weeks, 3 days. I reckon it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. I was fishing locked up because there was a lot of weed, and the one with the activate, the normal rig, if you like, just ramped up tight, and I've just picked it up, and I'm instantly back winding. I'm like, this is new. I've not had to do this off this spot before. It's hit the island, then sort of stopped, and I could feel the weight of it, and I thought, it's probably got weed on it, but it feels all right. It's come back towards me. It's then stripped another 40 yards back to the island again. And now, as I'm bringing it back, my tip ring is clogged with silkweed. And I'm like really wrenching it through, eventually get it moving again. Anyway, I've seen this fish from, I'm like, it's a common. Gutted. I'm like, it's either the long common or swirly. Either way, I've caught it. I was like, never mind. So I start to be a bit more, what's the word?
Blasé.
Yeah, exactly the word. I was a bit blasé. I'm just cranking it through, picking off weed. So I've looked up in the head torch. The fish is 15 yards out, and there is not a single scale on it. There's one.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. So I'm panicking. Now I've started to reel, and my tip ring is completely jammed up. I can't get any more line, and it's well out of netted distance. I've had to chuck the rod behind me. I'm biting this silkweed off, trying to get rid of it. Eventually crammed it through, and this thing's gone in the net, and I'm looking at it, and I've gone mental. And I remember pegging the net down. I've got an unhook him out on the back. I've got pegs in it. It's going nowhere. I'm on my way to get Pylon Dave. I've got halfway down to him, and I'm like, I've just got to check it's definitely, I don't look like an idiot. So I've come back again, and as I'm looking, I'm thinking, of course it's it. There's nothing else in here that's that sort of size.
Everybody's like that.
Yeah. So I've got Dave come and help me. I can't remember his name. He's come to help me. We've weighed it, and I'm thinking it was at 37.3. It's going to be like 39 pounds, something like that. But I didn't care. An obsession was over. And it went 41 and a half.
Yeah.
First 40 pounder.
First 40 pounder.
But you could see it when you look at Luke's pictures of it. It had a level belly. When you look at mine, it was filled out.
Yeah.
Just brilliant memories.
It's
amazing
great.
Memories.
And it's a satisfying way to catch. I've never fished like that. I've always fished on waters where I'm just happy to catch the stock of fish in there.
Absolutely.
Do you not think there's a period when a fish is going to change its habits? I mean, it was famous with two-tone was always difficult to catch over bait and stuff.
Yeah.
There's lots of stories about fish having the same habits, but part of being successful sometimes is trying to be different, isn't it? And do you find that you can be on a water with a lot of people all with the same kind of mindset, and eventually that fish is gonna
trip up, isn't it?
It's going to trip up and maybe do something completely different as well.
Yeah, I think so. They're wild animals at the end of the day.
Yeah.
There's no, we all say it, there's the carp rule book about what they should do in certain conditions, but how many times has a fresh southwesterly popped up, you're in the teeth of it, and matey at the far end on the back of the wind where it looks horrible is catching fish. Yeah, same with James's. At some point, it will get caught over big beds of bait.
Yeah, I was going to talk to you about that because it's a similar scenario now, isn't it? Where you've got through the stock and it's literally down to this last stuff.
Yeah, there's two I'd love to catch. Yeah. James is obviously and the zip linear. Another fish doesn't come out very often. But I just really enjoy it down there. There will come a point. I'm certainly not one to throw in the towel. I don't think it's the hardest fish in the world to catch. It's just a bit unique. But I've now doubled up, trebled up on a few of the fish, and every time it happens, you're catching a fish that someone else is desperate to catch, and you feel like you're potentially taking that away from them. But I'm certainly not ready to stop going just yet. I really want that fish in my album. When I first joined, I thought whatever I catch him at, it'll be a PB. Well, if you were to catch his first capture in August, he might be under my PB, but I don't care. He's such a unique creature. You know, he's ridiculously quick growth rate. The fact he's been measured, I think when Dave Levy caught him, it was a shade under 4 foot long.
I read that, yeah, wow.
You know, it's an insane carp. It's an insane carp, and I want it.
Yeah.
I really want to catch it.
So, because you said it would always come out, it's going to come out in the spring, and you were saying before your whole stall was set for the spring.
Yeah, I was ready. My wife knew 3 nights a week for at least 2 weeks.
And traditionally, so it comes out in spring, and then it will come out in...
Yeah, so it'll have its capture often in the first week of May. Certainly has done for the last 3 years. And then you can almost write off it coming out again until at least the end of August. Not every year, but most times. And I
think it'll make any difference now that it's not being fished for.
Absolutely could do. They've just spawned. It's, you know, as we were told, we can go fishing again on that Sunday. The Monday they started spawning, so it's been shut anyway. I think it opens again this weekend. But yeah, who knows what that's going to have done to them. I spoke to the owner a bit, and obviously he lives very close, so he could walk over to it to keep an eye on it. He said he'd drift around the boat and he'd seen almost every fish, and you know, some of them looked massive. But it could have affected his habits. All of a sudden, there's no lines for him to bump into. He's not got anything to spook off of.
No, it's all to play for.
It is. But you know, I honestly, I won't go back until probably the autumn. There's new members. Everyone's desperate to get over there. If it comes out, I'll be, you know, and I always say this, I'm not bitter in any way. I'll be one of the first to send that person a message to congratulate them, because it'll be my turn one day.
Your turn always comes around, doesn't it? You just got to be patient.
Yeah.
Neil, it's been a good podcast.
Good.
I knew it'd be a nice, relaxed podcast. It's a nice one back, Tobe, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been. It's been good to be back.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, thanks for having me.
No worries at all. Like I say,
I've got some breaking news as well before we go.
What's that?
I'm going fishing this weekend.
You are?
I am, mate.
Cool. Look at the
shock of
it. Toby's going fishing.
Where are you off to?
Only down to Highwoods, mate.
Oh, wicked.
Yeah, but I just thought,
He's
why
taking
not?
up fishing.
Good man. A lot of people are.
I'm looking forward to it, actually.
But he works on a fishing podcast.
yeah, true.
Fair play, Tobe. No, it's good. No, it's been great to have you on the show, and there's loads more to talk about. You need to come on again another time.
Look forward to it. I'd have to think of another gift, but we'll find one.
Yeah.
Might just be donuts next time.
Someone else has already done that.
Oh, I'll find something.
All right, Neil.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much.
Appreciate it.
The Thinking Tackle Podcast.